see.
Same time.
And introduce you to our commissioner. I don't know if you met.
David?
Next
Yeah,
year,
holidays is
going on
coming.
Black Bank.
Nice
Be on
to
your
start. Hey, how you doing, sir?
All right, let's go ahead and get started. You can go ahead and put us down for 6:30. Council, just for your awareness, Charles won't be able to join us, and Joseph is running a little bit late. He'll be joining us here shortly. But just for your awareness for tonight, but I appreciate you guys coming here and joining us. Paula, you want to go ahead and take care of item number 2? Go ahead and do the roll call.
District 2, Alderman San Cortez.
Present.
District 3, Alderman David Emery.
Governor.
District 4, Alderman Michael Rodriguez.
Here.
Okay, just put the other 2, and then whenever he comes in, just go ahead and annotate the minutes that goes along with that. Thank you so much. Okay, if everybody can please rise and join me for the pledge. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Okay, let's go ahead and move on to item number 4, citizens to be heard. And we have Commissioner. You want to go ahead and
Be my
you
pleasure.
wanted to share some thoughts with us?
Good evening, council, Mr. Mayor. We had a commissioners court meeting this morning, and there were a couple items on the agenda that may be of interest to you. The first one had to do with the appraisal district. Last Thursday night, we had an appraisal board meeting. I'm on the board of the appraisal district also. And the first thing that happened was we disapproved or voted down the proposed budget. However, at the end of the meeting, one of the members brought it back up. We made several cuts. Initially, the appraisal district's budget was coming forward with a 19% increase, and the board reduced that to a 12% increase. I voted in favor of that new budget, and we passed it out to the entities. You should have received it already. However, this morning in Commissioners Court, it was on the agenda to approve or disapprove the budget, and the Commissioners Court disapproved the budget. And the reason for that was that the appraisal district had presented to the board and to the public that they had 72 or 74,000 accounts, parcels, however you want to describe it, that required appraisal, required their efforts. Well, what happens is that the appraisal district has a contract with an outside firm that appraises all mineral and commercial properties.
Okay.
When you take that from the total, it turns out that the appraisal district has about either 30, I don't have the exact numbers because I got them over the weekend, 36 to 40,000, 42,000 accounts that they're required to appraise. When you compare the workload of adjoining counties of Wilson and Medina, they have a similar number of parcels, yet they have a smaller staff. So taking that into consideration, I changed my vote. I moved that we disapprove it. The judge was in favor of disapproving it. We had disapproved the budget. Now, you probably, maybe you're not aware, it takes 50% of the taxing entities, which there are 14 cities, school districts, per county, but 50% of them to approve or disapprove. So that's still out there for the future. That's where we are in the appraisal district.
So council, I'll in the first meeting, Matt, is that what we're shooting for in August?
Yes, sir.
We're probably gonna come up, it'll be a regular agenda item for us to go ahead and review the information and for us to go ahead and come together as one and make a recommendation for us to go ahead and pass on to Mrs. Folk. Yep. So we-
No, and this, I'm sorry, no, this time it's up to you guys. I'm sorry, up to the council to approve or disapprove the presented budget.
Oh.
Yeah, now it's our chance to approve it or disapprove it and send it back to the appraisal.
Got it. Okay. Thank you.
Anyway, you know where the county stands.
So, and,
If any of you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them, but
and you'll come join us then, probably in that meeting,
I'd be happy to.
okay, especially if we have any questions or anything like that.
Okay, the second thing that occurred was, about a month ago, Kinney County, Terrell County, Goliad County passed resolutions of disaster declaring an invasion of their counties. They had requested surrounding counties to assist them in this effort. As many of you may be aware, the governor's gone on national TV and said the words invasion, but has not signed the proclamation, which would make it so. If he does that, then that allows the state of Texas to take control of the border and close it. Well, he's yet to do that. So this morning, Atascosa County passed a disaster resolution declaring an invasion. Well, the judge signed the order, and then the commissioner's court approved that order, extending it until he says we don't need it anymore. So that should be of interest to you. The county's recently been experiencing many high-speed chases, bailouts, property damage from illegal aliens. That's where we stand. So the county took the position that will support Kenny, Terrell, Goliad, and there's one other, I can't remember the other one. But that should be of interest to you guys.
Yes, and definitely keep in mind, we'll have to check, see with Medina County too, since I know we've been getting a lot of the chases coming out of that area too.
That's really all I have to report. I'll answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank
Pleasure.
you for always being there, and thank you for all your help with the equipment. Some folks over here were able to take care of some
Oh, we did the
trees
trees, yeah.
over at the railroad, so we really appreciate your assistance with that. Made a big difference for us.
Well, now we have an interlocal agreement, so if something else comes up, welcome to ask.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Commissioner.
All right, have a good evening.
Thank you, sir. All right. I'm looking around the room. Luke is next. No? Go ahead.
All right, my name's Christian. I'm the owner for Patriot Automotive. Also board member for the Chamber of Commerce for Vital and VFW, member. So what I want to propose is to see if the city of Vital would like to not really donate, but just kind of sponsor us, because I've already gotten with the VFW. They're going to help. So is the Chamber of Commerce. We're going to go ahead and do a September 11 kind of breakfast for first responders. So, I'm inviting DPS, Atascosa, Medina, all the counties around here, the PDs, EMS, fire, to pretty much come and, have, I don't know what they're going to cook, because the VFW is going to do the cooking, but they're going to come and serve, anybody that's on duty, off duty, for that morning. So I know San Antonio does something. They do the tower thing in the morning as well. So I wanted to set up something here locally for our guys. So, we're going to use our property, and then the VFW is going to help in the cooking, and financially, the Chamber of Commerce is going to throw some money in there, and not really looking for money from the city of Vital, but just to sponsor it. So when I do make my flyer, the city's behind it, the VFW, Chamber. So when I go to the sheriff's offices and the PDs, they know it's, whatever, it's properly set up to where they're comfortable to come out and, eat and be comfortable with us, and I'm doing it for them. I was law enforcement many years ago, and, I know what it's like to be in that position. So I just wanted to see if the city wanted to give the green light to where I could put, City of Vital is, sponsoring our event, and kind of go from there.
So what we're gonna do is we'll put it on the agenda.
I said, if the council wants to take action, we need to put it on an agenda item as an action item.
Yes, we'll get back with you.
Okay.
So we'll go ahead and do that.
We can put it for the next August, the first meeting in August if we want.
So we can go ahead and take care of that portion of it. Definitely an opportunity. The VFW, by the way, it's gonna be a breakfast type, pancakes, scrambled eggs, bacon, the whole thing right there. Just an opportunity to give back to the first responders in the local area. Concentrating here with the local folks that we actually have, both at our own shift and coming up on the next one.
Yeah, anybody off duty, on duty, mainly for on duty, but if you're off duty and you don't feel like cooking that morning, you can come down and just kind of, shoot the breeze with other agencies, because not every other agency knows who, who's the neighbor. So, Medina County, Comitas, Costa County guys, I don't know how often they're flying, but
From the VFW side, we noticed that there's a lot of stuff happening throughout the day, but usually in the morning there's nothing. So we were trying to capitalize that as an opportunity to go ahead and recognize and do a little something, that goes along with that.
yeah, it's gonna be early in the morning, 7, something early, where, everyone can show up and get that done, and then whatever the city or VFW has later on the day, doesn't interfere.
Wanna do that?
Where they're gonna be located at?
Over at
My job.
so right across from Lido State Bank, where the storage place is, there's a big open area right in there. That's usually where we do the events, where we have the car shows. He hosts a lot of car shows there for the veterans and stuff like that. So it's worked out, and there's plenty of parking, lots of parking in there, so it's very convenient. It's away from the road, so there's nothing that we need to worry about with parking along the frontage roads or anything like that.
Yeah, everything will be off the city, under, streets. There's a ton of parking, like, for everybody. We didn't have DPS station there because they were gonna do a drug bust. They used our parking lot to do their meeting. But yeah,
It works out good. No, but we'll make sure, we'll take care of it.
On the first meeting.
We'll get you that answer, okay?
Cool.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Anybody else with citizen comments? All right, cool. Okay, let's go ahead and move on to agenda number 5, consent agenda. A, consider approval of payment of the bills, and everybody should have received that electronically.
If there's any questions, I'll try to answer them. Lynette is out. She's got family that came in town pre-scheduled, so that's why she's not here tonight.
I got one question.
You've got, looks like, yes, sir.
A wedding, or is that the, that's part of it?
So which one, I'm sorry?
Right, it says Salmon Road Cortez, Sam's Club. This is a big,
Oh, for 947? Yep. I don't know on that one. So I'm assuming, is that probably a reimbursement back?
I don't have a city Sam's card, I only have my Sam's card.
But did you purchase something and submit it back to the city for reimbursement? I don't know. I will ask her on that one. That's not what she agreed. I'll get clarification on that tomorrow's interview.
all right. I want to charge it to the city.
Just pay us what you owe us, we're fine.
I'm good with that. Yeah.
Okay.
Good.
I move that we approve
I have a motion on the floor for us to go ahead and approve those bills. You got a second? Okay. Any further discussion on them? Okay. All those in favor? Any opposed? Okay, thank you so much, I appreciate that. All right. Cool. 6, let's go ahead and jump right into the open session now. We'll go into 6A. Consider an act upon the revision to use rental policy for Lido Community Center to remove requirement of an on-site security officer for non-alcohol events and adjustments to other rental costs and fees for local residents.
So council, I'm bringing forward a 2-part motion to remove the security officer requirement for non-alcohol events. And the second part would be to just require the deposit. So no other recharges are made, you just have to pay the deposit for non-alcohol events. And these would be required to modify our policy.
So this would be no charge, so just so I understand it, if you're a resident taxpayer, then you can rent it, and just pay the deposit, that's it?
So
That we're
on
talking
that
about?
part, right, so there's two categories, actually, there's three categories. So Viola had created the form for me, there was two examples of resident and taxpayer, but there's also a nonprofit. So in that center column, what it would be is the citizen would only be required to make a $600 payment prior. And then on the, once the event has happened, then whatever money is due for like renting or if there's cleanup, any other fees will be taken from that, and then the citizen would get the balance. So all that would be required prior to the event would be the $600 deposit or whatever the deposit happens to be at the time.
So we're not changing the actual amounts it
No.
costs to rent the facility?
The cost will still be the same for cleaning and everything else. The only part that's gonna be removed that I'm requesting is the use of a security officer for non-alcohol events.
I just want to make sure that we're not going to take a loss in the rental. The reason we have a cost to rent it for the taxpayer resident is to
Right.
cover our costs associated with it. I understand that part, and I'm not against that. I will caution the council on the non-alcoholic events. I'm going to put on my law enforcement hat now. If I know I can rent the facility on a Friday night or Saturday night from 6 to midnight and say I'm not going to have alcohol, we're not going to have a representative from the city there. We're not going to know if they bring in alcohol. We're not going to know if they have 100 people, 200 people, or 6,000 people. I would probably be I personally would feel a little better for the non-security officer kind of thing if it was a daytime event, Monday through Friday, when we have city staff here that can pop in and check our facility. That's my only concern, is how do we ensure our facilities being taken care of? That's why we added a security officer years ago, because we were having issues with stuff getting torn up. Secondly is, who do they turn their key into on Friday night or Saturday night at 12:30 at night? Or do they just keep the key overnight and we get it back from on Monday? Then we don't collect that extra deposit for the cleaning fee the following day. I think that, I don't disagree, I'm just saying there's a lot of moving parts we need to consider on it.
So Matt, just for our understanding, so the security guard is because, or the security officers is basically because of the alcohol. Is that correct?
No,
Or is
sir.
it
No,
based on the number of people that are there?
No, I can spread some pretty good thought on this if you want to speak for a second. So basically, in a city a little larger than ours, like I was telling Mr. Rodriguez, New Braunfels, Shirts, I've a lot of experience with them. My grandmother was at doll shows there. So they don't require security at a doll show, during the day on Saturday. But those facilities have employees that are on staff. They make sure that the doors don't get propped open, the air conditioners are controlled, the plumbing's okay. The problem we have is here, our police officers, and it works because we're a small community, when we go to any event, and it might be 200 people with no alcohol, we are also the caretaker, more or less, that makes sure the air conditioners get turned off. We make sure people don't park on the grass or run into the building. We make sure they park accordingly so they don't block each other in, block the fire access. So we do a lot more, we're kind of the event staff almost. So another problem with a non-alcohol event is if you rent it for a graduation party and you say, okay, I'm going to have 200 people here, but I'm not providing alcohol. A lot of people don't understand that doesn't mean that people coming in won't bring alcohol, because what they do is they all bring ice chest in at a lot of these events. So that's the issue. It's not, but determine whether you want security or not is totally up to y'all. It's just my job to find someone you want them based on your policies. But that is how we have kind of got where we are. And that's what Matt's saying. During the day, there's employees. Now, if you have on-call staff, for example, that you want to say, look, someone need the on-call guy's got to check on up there or something. But, again, that's going to require somebody being up there about midnight or 1 o'clock on some morning. So that's just the background kind of where Matt and I are coming from. But again, that's up to y'all,
Then we have problems with people that rented the community center and they didn't show up for somebody else, they rented for somebody else.
Yeah.
Well, we changed our policy, and that's,
Yeah, there's
I've got some concerns about it. We changed our policy. You used to be able to rent our community center. We didn't care who you were. If you were willing to pay the funds, you could rent our community center. At a meeting, an employee tried to change that, and it failed. The very next, because Chief and I are here to speak up on that. The very next meeting, it was brought back before council again. Chief and I were here, and it passed. The problem is now we have a facility that costs us money for upkeep, and we're not generating any revenue from it. Currently, the way the policy is written, if you want to rent it, you have to be a taxpayer property, and you can rent it. But if you leave, the police is supposed to shut your party down. You can't rent it. The mayor, you can't go rent it for your uncle who lives in Bastrop. You can, but you have to be there the entire length of the party. And if you leave, the police is supposed to come up and say, hey, your renter left. I'm sorry, nobody's here that rented it. Shut the party down. If we're going to rent a facility, then do like everybody else. Let's rent it to cover our costs and do the upkeep we need to it. That's for a different discussion. I think we need to address this here. I'm not against not charging for non-alcoholic events. If, in my opinion, if they're here when we have resources to ensure our asset is being taken care of, and we have a way to get the key back at the end of the day, stuff like that. Unless there's other options y'all come up with.
Now, what kind of activity do we have there right now? I mean, how often is it rented out?
Hit and miss, very hit and miss right now. I remember back in the day when anybody could rent it.
all
There was
summer long.
weddings almost every weekend.
Every weekend.
When did we change just to residents?
5 years ago,
Yeah, probably
5, 6 years ago.
Yeah, 5, 6
Okay,
years ago.
so it's 6 years and you come up with an average, how many events, or before COVID, how many events were we averaging with just residents?
If anything, maybe every weekend has something going on.
With just residents?
With just
With just residents. This is when we went to just residents.
And I remember when I was doing it here, it was a lot of people that would just come in as residents, just trying to get it, for anyone that you, because most of them cannot just come and rent it. So that's why someone over here or someone that was camping. For the most part, people from out of town.
But the reason we quit renting it to people from out of town is not because we had more trouble from people from out of town. It was because if we don't rent it, it's a lot less work.
it was commented that they were doing more damages, but as somebody who worked it, that was not the case. Because your employee was there protecting your asset.
The idea of the community center should just be that it should be community, it's community based. If you look at the example, I don't know if all can see it, but if you take the taxpayer is gonna have just a small gathering with a family. That's what I'm looking at. Just the typical person that has a grandchild, a daughter, somebody that they wanna celebrate, some kind of function with. They have to do the $600 deposit, the $250 fee for renting the facilities. And then they have to come up with another $200 for the security officers. So when that citizen comes up to make their first payment, to make their payment for the event, that's $1,050 that person has to put out. Just for some little gathering that they want with their family. And that does not include now they're gonna have to do the food and I understand that there's problems with the amount of people. I mean, but how do we police that now? Well, obviously the word police, right? But if you know, you're gonna be then, you're saying you're only gonna have 100 people, you'd say, okay, well, currently you're gonna have to have one security officer for 100 people. But then 250 people show up, we're not gonna go out there and get more security officers.
Yes, sir.
Just gonna shut it down.
That's normally what we do.
We
So
would call officers in.
what we were told was, if they're supposed to have 100 people and they're paying, and this is alcohol related, because the non-alcohol doesn't apply on the number of officers. What we would do is, if they start getting to where, I mean, I'm not gonna count 110, 115, but if it gets where there's because what happens is, and I'm sorry, it's hard to explain the whole process, because I've been this forum existed before I was here, and I've been here 23 years. James only puts out a certain number of type chairs. So if you pay for 200 people, you get 200 chairs. Well, so it's real easy for us. If we go in there and every chair's full and there's like 100 people standing, I tell them, look, I mean, y'all, so we'll try to get someone else to come in up there, only because at that point in time, if you got one officer, I'm getting a little, I've had some pretty dicey situations up there closer to midnight when you've got a lot of drunk people. And so again, alcohol again is a big key factor. So I understand your point on the no alcohol. I agree with a lot with that too. If you can find a way to kind of keep up what's going on. So yes, that's how if more people, that's how we respond to it.
So another question is, if we've had, but the $600 is to go ahead and just cover damages or cleanup.
Yeah, that's just the deposits. That way, if you don't clean up and we have to bring somebody in to clean it up, you don't haul off your trash or there's damages, that comes out of your deposit.
So how many times have we collected from them, and how much? Do you have a rough idea?
I
Based
know.
on the deposit.
James,
I know in all my years, I've one time had somebody stay late, and we actually wrote up the officers there an extra half hour. I think an extra hour.
We've done that quite a bit.
So that came out of their deposit to cover the cost of the officers because they didn't shut the party down in time.
Or it took them
Or
too
took them
long
longer
to clean up because everybody left them. Everybody's going to help them clean up, and then everybody.
Yeah, and I agree. It's a high amount. I don't disagree with that because I've paid it myself.
What I'm trying to do is figure out a gap where we can still maybe have an officer, but it's included as part of the deposit. If it's gonna be $200, so you gotta pay for, as part of the 600 already to be included in there, you just have the 200 based on damages or anything. I mean, we can legally, based on the form, right? They have to sign a form, right? You can get the legal review on there. Any additional costs or anything else that we would actually go after them. But I see where you're coming from. I'm just trying to figure out a way that you're still gonna pay the $600. And if we normally don't go back and ask for any additional money, or we take additional money because normally they have it clean, we know it's not gonna be a non-alcoholic, why can't we still have the officer use the 200 out of the 600, and we got a 200, little kitty there to cover any of the other additional costs. And if it's more than that, then we just need help from legal in a sense when we come up with a form.
And I would say my experience in the past to do more. I mean, if you do $600 worth of damage, you've probably done more than $600 worth of damage. I mean, that's not very much damage now. So if they do that kind of damage, then you're going to have to go after them anyway. So it's going to be more than that. Normally, what we charge, all the time I can remember, sometimes somebody will get there and see we don't have a dumpster there, so you have to agree that you're going to take off the trash. Which I have another issue with that because I think some of it may end up on a county road somewhere. That's a problem I have when you tell people to take their trash off. But that's not for here right now. But what is for here is that sometimes people will say, I don't have any place to put the trash. I'm going to leave it all outside in bags or wherever, and they can just take it out of my deposit, whatever it costs for them to haul it to the dumpster. So that happens too. I've seen that a few times.
Once again, I'm just talking about non-alcoholic.
So we're not so worried about we're trying to reduce the overall cost, correct? So how can we work out where something was legal, a form they signed, we don't physically take a $600 deposit, but we do something on a credit card. We have that, we put something like that. It would reduce it some. They're still going to pay the cost to rent the facility, to have an officer there maybe, but they're not having to, I don't know. I'm just looking at how do we reduce the cost some, but I also don't want to take a loss because when you rent it and you pay your deposit, you pay something to come in and fill it out, we're going to mark it off the block. So the next person comes, hey, I want it for that. Sorry, it's already rented. Just for you to come in 2 days before the event and like, never mind, I don't want it.
So what is the 250? What is that actually encompass?
That covers our cost, I'm assuming, for ACs, electricity, stuff like that, wasn't it?
But it hasn't increased in 20 years,
Yeah, it
I don't
hasn't
think,
increased,
so it
so-
can't be very.
So I had a recent experience where I had to rent a community center. And there was a base price. And then I had to pay electricity based on the number of hours I wanted. And this contract here, I don't see anything about hours. I don't see whether there's a limit of 4 hours, 5 hours, other than when you get into the security officer, that kind of mandates how many hours you're expected to be there. But if we were to put it in this side of the column and say, in order to rent it for 2 or 3 hours or 4 hours, you have to pay X amount of dollars for electricity. That makes sense. That's what I had to do when I rented the community center recently. I paid the base price, which I think was $250, then I had to pay for the electricity, and now it's gonna be the 4 hours.
I believe
So I prepaid 4 hours for electricity.
that's what the electricity, so I'm assuming, like I said, I didn't create this form, I'm just under the assumption those costs that are covered are, that's for electricity, or let's call it, electricity, water, and sewer costs.
Now, I was told that if they come in Monday morning or the next morning and they see that that thermostat is set above 72 or whatever number they tell 78, I think. If it's set below 78, they're gonna charge me extra for whatever was used, and I would imagine they write it down, what the counter has on the, on the monitor. And then they're gonna charge me the extra. So I'm pretty sure they had it all figured out, how much I'm actually paying per hour based on the, nominal usage. And they did say, if you come in the next morning and let's say they said it has to be set at 78 and the thermostat still at 72, then I'll get, charge that extra amount. But we have to fall back onto the way things were, the way we used to treat citizens, the way I feel that a citizen should be treated. We have small parties, and I can understand that there's circumstances where they may become larger, people may bring it in, but let's not punish every citizen for that. And I'm looking at you because I'm in that direction. But let's not punish all the citizens because of what might happen or what may have happened in the past. I understand that, we need somebody there to close the place, or in reference to the key, you lock the front door and then you put the key in the drop box. That drop box falls behind the door. Whatever we set up. But we're gonna have to put faith back into our citizens, because here comes the future, we're gonna be asking a lot. And we're gonna have more people coming into it. At some point, we're gonna outgrow this community center. We're gonna have to, look at forward and maybe making larger facilities. But we have to do something today. And my suggestion today was just simply remove the officer. And if we need to, maybe we can incorporate inside that $250 where somebody let me ask a different question first. Chief Reese.
Yes, sir.
Is the police department under any obligation to go to the community center if there's an activity there? Just to check on things, just to look around?
Well, now we would have officers there.
Right.
So
but
we
if
wouldn't
didn't
be.
have an officer.
If we did not have an
If
officer
you didn't
there,
have officers there, would it be within your scope
sure.
to drive down there just to check?
So again, one, the community center kind of easily put is out of sight, out of mind. So you really don't know if you'd have to know there's an event there.
Right, and living across the street from,
Yes.
on Main Street,
Yes.
I know when people
Yes.
are there.
Exactly. So it's kind of out of sight, out of mind. So, but what we could do, is if the city tells us somebody's using the center, because we already have that at the park when they use the pavilion over there. There's always an officer could always drop in, of course, again, another problem we have with this community center is 99% of the events are on Saturday nights, which is your busy time, so that's another problem. And as now, 10 years ago, I'd say, we could make those rounds pretty easy. Of course, I don't know the way we're growing the next, it's going to be changing, so, but I mean, we're willing to give it a try, but again, it would be hard for me to tell an officer, hey, that thing's closed at midnight. So midnight, I want y'all up there, because again, that's going to pull them away from a lot of other stuff on midnight. We have a lot of businesses closing. We're trying to watch. So, but
Then we categorize, like we having a wedding or birthday or a debut, those people are they're gonna bring alcohol. But if you have like a shower, a bridal shower, or a baby shower, it's smaller with only women, you're not gonna have any alcohol.
so we have two events, basically, like Mr. Cortez said. Mr. Cortez said, basically, we have two kind of events. We have some during the day. During the day, we have family reunions. We have birthday parties for 90-year-old women. We have 75th anniversaries. We have baby showers during the day, and we work those. Of course, COVID, we're kind of out of practice. So with those during the day, a lot of times, it is the officer's just kind of there. The problem is the ones that start at 5:30 and go to midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning. That's when we kind of lose our scope, because it's dark. You don't know what, anything goes really without some sort of staff up there. But that's just.
Let me throw this out there. We have another building that sits behind it, the Morris Venture building. It's a smaller facility. It's not as large as the community center, so it's not going to allow you to gather as many people like that. Why couldn't we do that for events that you're talking? A smaller event. The cost is not as much. It still has all the same facilities. It's just a smaller type facility. Maybe we could try that one for an event where it's not as expensive.
Well, the problem with that one is it doesn't have the kitchen facilities.
Yes, it does.
It does have.
It has exactly.
Actually,
a large kitchen.
It has a real kitchen. It actually has.
It has double bathrooms. We need to do some addressing of some cabinets and some cleaning in there, but I don't disagree. And that might be a better option to try this and see how it works.
I really don't want to deter from what my original intent was, and that's to make the community center the auditorium available to the community. I mean, it seems like the only thing we're at odds at is the use of a security officer. And I understand that, it needs to be policed, and I understand that if it goes over, if somebody brings alcohol. But, I mean, I don't understand why other cities don't have that concern or that issue with their citizens.
I don't have any experience in that, so I couldn't tell you.
I mean, I reached out to Divine. I didn't want to bring other cities into my motion here, but I reached out to Divine, and they don't have security officer requirements for non-alcoholic events.
I don't know.
And they seem to not have a problem. In fact, they even rent to non-citizens, I believe, at a $600 deposit. So, I guess based on their experience, they've been able to make a go of it.
Mayor, I was going to say, you may want, the council may want to suggest the staff perhaps research and find what other cities are doing of similar size with similar facilities, so that they can address the concerns. I know that in many cases, the cities that I've worked with, they don't have a security officer requirement. They do only require for alcoholic events, but they do have a city employee who's more or less like a facility or property manager who would normally handle opening the facility, locking the facility, the other facility type things that the police are having to do right now. So that may require, reevaluating the cost and figuring out how to cover those costs so that you can have an employee properly, open it, close it, making sure it's clean, receive that, and then leave the police to handle specific security related issues. So if you have a security officer requirement in the evening or alcohol related events, and then during the daytime, that may not be a requirement. It's a non-alcohol related event. It just turns into a scheduling issue often, because some of the nighttime events, sometimes they want to get in for decorations earlier in the day. But those things, they're going to be able to, city employee who's there to open and close the facility. That's how a lot of our cities do it that way. So it's less of an issue on the police department. So they have, because some of those things are not really a security issue. Those are just make sure the AC's on or off, lights are on or off, is it clean, that.
Sam, do you have anything just so we can, that's idea, Chris?
No, so, and that may address that. We can also prepare a better rental agreement to cover some of the contingencies regarding utilities and clean up, non-payment, things like that as well. So those would be able to give you perhaps a broader sense of this has been properly addressed.
I was just gonna mention that the Catholic Church, if you rent the hall or the pavilion in Coleman, we're gonna have alcohol with 50 people, you still gotta get a
Right, for alcohol, right?
Yeah.
And non-alcohol?
non-alcohol, they'll require that. And most of the time, it's like, during the day, for small parties.
So Mayor, I would like to go back to my original proposal of removing the security officer requirement for non-alcohol events. And
So you're making a motion,
okay.
making a motion for us.
So I motion to remove on-site security officer requirement for non-alcohol events and to require prepayment of security deposit only for non-alcohol events for the use of the city Vital Community Center.
Okay, got a motion on the floor, do I have a second on that?
I'll second it for the sake of more discussion.
Second?
Um, I would be more inclined to table this, maybe just for one meeting, to drop a new form, and I don't know who would do that, maybe Matt or, our attorneys could help us with that. And just have us think through it a little more. Certainly, to remove security for all events, I know you're not saying that, would be not a good idea. So for alcohol events, we need security events there. But I would be more inclined to just slow down a bit. Maybe you could work with Matt or the attorneys or somebody kind of take the lead on it and come up with a form. It seems like you have it in mind, but I'd like to see it on paper before we finalize that.
Okay. I got, any further discussion on that?
Yeah, so then my recommendation is that we review the current form and the fee that's being charged, maybe we can incorporate a city employee to open and close. And then we can maybe get with the police department and see, what their procedure could be for just dropping by, making sure things looks good, because, I mean, you said you do that for the reviewing, so.
Yeah,
That would be no different. So I can work with whoever the office decides.
Yeah,
So we just need a motion,
we're gonna keep the same motion.
amend the motion, or take a vote for it to
Well,
die.
we're gonna take a vote on that. I just have something as part of the discussion real quick, just before. Is there anything that restricts us from having surveillance inside, cameras inside of a?
In the common area, the main areas, yes, that's perfectly allowed. But if the councilman wants to ask the staff to go ahead and proceed with analyzing it further and perhaps restructuring it, you can withdraw your motion or amend your motion to do that.
Okay.
And you can do it that way, or you could vote on the original motion as you.
Okay, I'd like to amend my motion. So I make a motion for the city staff to investigate the removal of security officer requirements for non-alcoholic events, and to have a one payment or single payment deposit for non-alcoholic events only for the use of the city community center. That makes sense?
Yes.
Okay.
You're gonna go ahead, since he amended,
Well, did you get what we needed in here? Something about redoing the form and
he's basically saying,
Once we do it, I'll work with legal, we'll come up with a new rental agreement.
okay.
And then if you could get with the.
Yeah, before we bring it back, yeah.
We're kind of on the same
Yeah,
page.
we'll all
As
do
long as I understand that we're going to slow down, take some time, work together and do that, if that was your motion, I'll agree to this.
basically giving them the opportunity.
You're not gonna get up, we're gonna check with other cities first, see what they're.
Well,
Yeah.
That should be fine.
He instructed investigate.
Oh, okay.
He said
So
the word,
Yeah, we're not changing anything right now.
we're not changing anything. So
Okay.
the action is for them to go look into it and then come back to us.
Okay.
So you amended?
Yes.
Okay. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Okay, lots of homework. Thank you. Something worth looking at. And I just wanted to throw the thing about the cameras up there. So, hey, we need something like this. All right, let's go ahead and continue on. Let's see if we can get back on track. B, consider an act upon improvement agreement with Landslock Incorporated in the amount of $37,255 for purchase of body worn camera equipment and related services for the Lytle Public Police Department.
So-
Richie?
So basically, it actually, this is actually a 5-year agreement. Basically, you're really a body cam service you're buying. This is for 10 cameras, warranty on them, refresh it 3 years, all the accessories we need. Cloud-based storage, which is something we've got to get to. We've been talking about for a long time. It's $74.51 a year. Of course, obviously, this contract will get amended as we add officers. We'll have to add a couple more cameras. It doesn't mention it when you guys said, but really just moving us to that next place we need to be and on cameras. And again, the pricing is, I've got money in this year's budget, you know, for a couple of different items, you know. We've had some things go over because of vehicle maintenance and fuel probably, but I mean, we've still got some play money in there, you know. And this place offers the best deal, and
It's been reviewed by legal, they made the corrections to the agreement, and it's been approved by legal.
Okay, council?
And and authorize the chief to be the signer on it? That's who they've got on it now.
yeah, it doesn't matter who's there.
Authorize.
Authorize the chief to-
Okay, got a motion on the floor? Got a second? Any further discussion on that one?
So 10, is that to cover the current police force or?
Yes, sir. That is the current police force.
Because it looks to me like on the contract, that was the least expensive part, the number of cameras. Should we not get additional cameras?
Well, it's basically, it's gonna be, it would be,
I guess what I'm
$8.99 a
asking
year.
is this, how does this affect the 5-year contract?
okay,
If we just have to get additional cameras?
so then it would be the same price and the same annual price. If we had 2 officers next year, for example, or 4 officers next year, it would be that $8.99. That would, you wouldn't pay any more setup fee, you wouldn't pay any programming, might have to pay to get them shipped to you.
That was-
Yeah. Well, I mean, they cut a bunch of other fees out and they left that one in, but I kind of, you know, I'll work with them a little bit, but.
Now, I'll remind council, this is 10 cameras sitting at the station ready for use.
Right.
I say, we don't necessarily need a camera per officer.
Yeah,
Just
that's
give us
the,
a bank
that's
of
the
10.
contract is a camera per officer. That's how they do these. It's camera per officer.
Because they're tagged, right?
Yeah, this is basically,
So I
that's why
can't
you
come
get
in and
that.
grab a different, if my camera dies mid-shift, I can't come grab another officer's camera.
You could, yes, but I mean, our agreement with them is that every full-time officer would have his own camera. That's the way it works.
Well, in my opinion, I think we look into that after this agreement before we have more cameras. Because I can tell you, larger cities, San Antonio does not have 1 camera per officer. It'd be unrealistic to do that. I've been to several agencies where you walk in and there's just a bank of cameras. You go grab a camera, you check it out to Officer XYZ, and it becomes his camera for use. All of them may not have the access or something. We'll look at
Well,
that.
I can get, here's the deal, I can go to a place that'll let me do that. But here's the deal, they're not idiots. They're gonna charge you more per camera because they know what you're gonna do. You're gonna have 4 officers sharing 1 camera. So that's why the price on this one was the best of all the ones we looked at. Because there's other ones that say, we'll let you charge, whoever wants to use it, can use it. But that agreement was gonna be, well, it was on an annual deal and it was like 13,000.
So basically, if you needed to add more cameras, you
Sure.
just pay the price of the camera, the contract will still remain the
The
same.
contract remains the same, you just add and annually goes up on the camera.
The other question I had was, is there a service plan on this thing? So if the camera
Yeah,
breaks,
it's part of it, 5 years, we're
because
covered.
all I saw was warranty. So
It's-
if the camera broke for a warranty reason,
So the agreement, the thing about this, because we're actually doing it as a service, the cameras are completely covered for 5 years. And all the accessories, so that's the good part. Now, if an officer loses one, if he's got one in his vehicle and it gets, burglarized or something, well, then, you're probably gonna have to, to buy that,
And then the last question I had was, at the end of this contract, it seemed that we're getting all new equipment if we continue.
Yes, I mean, these companies, this is an ever-evolving industry. We started with
Yeah, they'll be
body
outdated.
cameras. We started with body cameras in 2009. The cloud didn't really exist where you could put stuff on it. I mean, so it's changed a lot. All these companies I looked at, it all comes down to the same thing. I mean, nobody's can foretell the future. In 5 years, you may have the cameras built in your glass. You just don't know the way technology's going.
How do we address the reserve officers? Are they gonna use the other cameras we have?
They are.
those be on different platforms.
Yeah, Axon is San Antonio, and it's per officer. They pay a fee per officer. Now, they may have share cameras, but you pay per officer. That's how
And
it
this-
is.
That's all the questions I had.
Yeah.
I mean, for the record, I think that it was a great idea. We should definitely have it.
Well, it's, and like I say, the ones we looked at, this was the cheapest one I could find that met everything we needed.
It looks like they're coming.
Well, they're trying to get in the Texas market, and that's what you gotta find somebody. They've got a lot in the Northeast and California. And they're trying to get in the Texas market, and, you know, you gotta really work it, you know, to get these people to find a deal.
Are these colored things?
Oh, yeah, they're, you know, all that stuff now is pretty high quality, just like what we're using now. I mean, it's just, you know, when I started, this is not something we need to be talking about. It's not something we'd be having to pay for or think about. Even car cameras when I started here is cheap. So it's changed a lot, and we,
You have the money.
oh, yeah, I mean, you gotta have, yeah.
Any other items for discussion? All those in favor?
Thank you.
Any opposed? All right. All right, go ahead and continue on. C, consider an act upon the authorization to sell surplus water well motor.
Do you want to cover that one, James, or do you want me to?
You can start on that.
So this came on there because, James, we've got a water well motor that we bought for well 4 in the initial stages when we thought it would only pump 600 and some odd gallons per minute. So it was sized to do that. When it pumped more, we had to buy a larger motor, thus making that smaller motor of no use to the city. It can't work on any other well we have. So it is a piece of brand new equipment that is of value, just no value to us, makes it surplus. James has had twice now, I believe, somebody asked him about buying the motor because they needed it right then, right now, and they offered a decent price for it. We can't do that without action by the council, and they couldn't wait till Monday. So it'd be my recommendation, you authorize us to place it for sale. If we don't get any bites on it for a certain period of time, then the council would give authorization to the city administrator to accept any reasonable offer at a later time that comes in. So if we have another situation just like this where it comes in and, you know, hey, I want to pay you X number of dollars for that motor, it's probably worth that versus sitting here and rotting over 20 years and us selling it for scrap later.
And council, this has happened a few times. There's another motor too that James has that we've had for a while too. It might be used for other possibilities, but as we acquire equipment that we probably don't need to use, we need to give them the flexibility, because that's usually what happens. You know, some well goes down and they need a pump right away. They know that somebody has a spare. We need to act. Unfortunately, right now, the way it's structured, we can't try to give, you know, take advantage of that opportunity. And it's usually like, I need to know here in the next 6 hours.
Yeah.
Because they're trying to get another well up and running. So,
So I understand we need actually a two-part motion, one to authorize the staff to advertise for the sale of this motor, maybe motors, and also give the city staff the authority to okay the sale. Is that what I understand?
Yes, and if we don't get an actual bid, say we put it out for 2 weeks, we're selling this motor for 2 weeks, let's say, and nobody bids on it, okay? Do we run back into the same boat, or do we say, hey, we know it's surplus to us, we're gonna authorize the city administrator to accept any reasonable offers after that date and just make the sale and finalize it, because we've tried to sell it, we can't use it, let's do something with it.
James?
It's just, Paris bought everything back that went into the well. They bought the pump and all the pipe back, but they didn't buy the motor, the electric motor, because it was a non-motor. It's 120 horse, and they very seldom ever use them. But since we've got it, they've been back here twice trying to, you know, they need it, and they can't find it anywhere else. And I mean, real quick, like, and they thought they could grab this one and go.
Typically, a city, when they have surplus personal property, they'll authorize the staff to go ahead and take bids for a specified amount of time, 30 days, 60 days, something like that. And if they don't have a buyer at that time, then typically a city will over a year or every quarter or semi-annual annually or so, will have just a list of stuff that they're liquidating, you know, office furniture, old computers, old equipment, and the like, and then the city will often have an arrangement either through the county or through some third party that has like an auction type site, and they'll list it online and be able to liquidate that at that time. And at that point, and if it truly then has no value at that point, I mean, if this particular item does sound like it has value, but maybe an old chair or an old desk doesn't, they then just go ahead and just dispose of it. It's just junk at that time. It should be destroyed. So with regard to the staff request, typically they would be authorized to go ahead and take bids for some certain amount of time and to accept any reasonable bid for the value of the proposed equipment. And then if they don't accept it, then you can probably put it in another, like a larger, probably liquidated at a later time. That's typical.
Do we need to put a timeframe?
Yes, you should, some amount of time for them to get the initial set of bids, so it sounds like they probably would 30 days or.
Yeah, I would think so.
time.
I'm here with Michael saying, could we just make a motion that we give city staff the authority to make whatever arrangement necessary to sell the motor in the
Yes.
best interest of the city?
Yes, solicit bids and accept any reasonable bid for.
I mean, that way he can advertise it. He doesn't need to come back to us if they don't sell it in 30 days.
Right.
Then he already has the authority to dispose of it in a way that would be beneficial to the city
Yes,
according to his.
yes, you can do it that way.
Okay.
Most cities will have often an ordinance that already establishes all of that, you know, the general protocols, it's always within so many days, but yes, you can specifically.
So in lieu of an ordinance to do that, we could just
Make a motion.
make the
Make a
motion.
motion,
Okay. I'll make that motion that we give the city administrator the authority to take whatever means necessary according to his better judgment to sell the motor or dispose of it in the best interest of the city.
Okay.
I'll second that motion.
Got a second? Okay. Any further discussion on that?
Or we don't tie his hands.
All those in favor?
I-
Any opposed? All right. There you go, James. You can start getting some phone calls now. You're gonna get phone calls, guys.
If he's willing to pay us the same amount.
It's gonna happen. It's honestly right now, especially with the use of water, I wouldn't be surprised.
I'm just curious, what is this thing worth? What are we gonna be shooting for?
I'll get with James. I hate to mention the value because we're on
Oh, yeah, sure, sorry.
YouTube, but yeah.
Disregard.
I mean, to me, what we were offered last time was a decent, reasonable amount for a piece of item that was just sitting around.
Okay, let's go ahead and move on to D. Consider an act upon approving the city's membership in the Texas Rural Water Association, TRWA, and to request that TRWA undertake the utility rate study for proposed future utility rate and fee adjustments. Matt?
So council, at the last meeting, I was directed to have a utility rate study done prior to, looking at the options for utility rates and raising them. In doing so, I got a quote from a company for $32,000 to do that. It would have been, it will be a great study and will do everything we needed to do. I was able to gather some information from the mayor from his past files on our 2018 utility rate study where they did the water and sewer. Identified that organization, called them and discovered that they do them for free for member organizations. My next question was how much to be a member, and their number was $1,800, $1,900, but ours was a little higher because we have more water meters than they have us on file for. So we're going to join their organization and pay their fee, and then I will schedule a free utility rate study for our water. It will be for our water and sewer. It will not encompass our gas system. Our gas system is pretty small. I believe we can work on that ourselves based on everything I can get from TML and stuff like that. So that works for that. We're moving on that. I will still tell the council, based on a 2018 study, our rates are still extremely low. In 2018, they said we should have been here, and we were still way down here, and all we did was bump it a little bit. So things just got more expensive. We have to do something. So it would be my opinion that I come back to council next agenda item with permission to move forward with a minor utility rate increase to cover our costs for next year.
Uh,
We have to do something while we're waiting for this. I'm not talking about hit them double, right? We're not saying, hey, we'll hit you in next year's budget, October 1, or you can rates go here. We're gonna get this done, and then 2 months later, hit you here again. No. We're gonna do our study, we're gonna raise rates to get us into the next budget year. We'll get this accomplished, and then look long-term in the budget year after that and how we move forward to bring us more into line of where we need to be. Several options we can look at on all kinds of things that were brought up.
Is this an annual membership fee?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Our last membership was in 2009, I believe. So it's been a while.
And we just let it lapse and ignore it?
So
I don't know.
this is a great organization that James, Robbie, and I got a chance to go. This is the organization that saved us money because they had a training class and we produced that document that TCQ required us to produce for emergency or weatherization. Remember, we had to come up with a plan and report that to them on how we would take care of our water. It was strictly just the water. When we went to the training, we had to pay for the hotel, but besides that, it was free. They had this membership, and as mentioned, we brought it back and passed it on, so they kind of stayed there, but that's here within the last year. So, great opportunity. One of the things that they highlighted for us was they would be able to do this for free.
They'll do it for free for member organizations every year, and then we can actually have it done. We just get it whenever we participate in their annual study where they send it out and say, hey, everybody tell me what your utility rates are. We participate into that overall study, and then they send us a copy for free of those results, thus giving us a utility rate study every year for
To
free.
give you an idea, if we approve it tonight, and you send them a check tomorrow to join, when they would be able to start the study, how long?
As soon as they get payment, they'll put me in contact with what they call their something rider, line rider, whoever does these studies. There's a possibility we could be started on it within a month.
How long does it take to do it?
I don't know on that one. That comes from them. But
I think we have to go back to what Matt was saying. We already have enough information from 2018
Mhm.
that pretty much already identifies the large gap that we have. I think for council, you will have validated information to be able to do that, but in a sense of how we look in the future, that's where this study is going to help us.
yeah, I don't want to rush on this because we need to do the gas system ourselves. And I hate to rush on this to just get us something by October. Because I think we're gonna have to make bigger decisions for long term. And that would, by ordinance, we could pass an ordinance that would adjust it and fix it for the years to come.
And council, just so you know, this is just one tool. Doing this study is just one tool that this membership will provide.
They do training and everything. We get a discounted training cost by being a member organization.
There's other things that are tools that are available as long as we have a membership. So it is worthwhile. So I need a motion for us to go ahead and approve.
I move that we, join the TOWA and take advantage of their,
We make a motion for the 18, you need 1887?
No, it was 2,000. I already got it to Lynette.
Yeah.
Dollar fee, but it was.
I will specify in the motion.
Yeah, we
I
become
move
members.
that
It
we
was
join
less
the
than
TOWA.
$2,500.
Okay.
But then we just become members.
Any further discussion? Okay. All those in favor? Any opposed? Okay. Awesome. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. All right. E, discussion on possible action to recognize former city secretary. Matt.
So again, at the direction of council, I reached out to the former city secretary. We both spoke on the phone and via text message. It's kind of hard to make contact sometimes, but I advised her that the council wanted to do something and asked her what her thoughts were, and specifically asked if she wanted a plaque or whatever. She told me she did not want another plaque. I said, okay, tell me what you would like. And my response has been nothing since.
And this is right after the last meeting.
Right after. It's been at least probably a week and 10 days. And I've had zero response, zero suggestions, zero anything.
From her.
From that person, yes.
Probably shouldn't violate her desire to not have another plaque for a while, I understand that. But she has worked for the city for 4 decades. So I think we should do something to recognize that. I would be more inclined to draft a very nice letter, whatever you want to call it, from the mayor. I have all the council members sign it for present, and then have the city seal on it, and asked her how she would like it delivered, whether she'd like it presented at a meeting or mailed to her or delivered to her by the mayor, something like that.
So a proclamation, I guess it's.
Yeah, it's a proclamation of
Recognizing her
4 years of service. Yeah.
We do two things. We do a proclamation, or we do a certificate, which is either or,
Yeah,
that goes along with that. So,
I'm probably more inclined for a certificate
Okay.
that we could all sign. Would that be
put
appropriate?
everybody an opportunity to go ahead and sign.
And, you know, we could frame it if we wanted to, and, or put it in a nice binder. So, yeah, I move that we draft a certificate of appreciation for whatever years of service. And have the council sign it and reach out to her to see how she would like to receive it.
Got a motion on the floor? You got a second? Okay, discussion.
No, I don't blame her for not saying what she's doing. Yeah, do this for me. I wouldn't do that. Maybe I'll first suggestion.
Any other discussion? All those in favor? Any opposed? Thanks, council. Appreciate the opportunity. Just something that we can go ahead and be able to recognize her. So appreciate that. Okay, F, consider act upon authorizing city administrator to obtain leasing options for public works and police department equipment.
So council, the 1049 asking for the ability to go out and get us some leasing options. We know we have a piece of equipment for public works and 2 police cars that are gonna be needed in next year's budget. We've asked other staff, there was no other big ticket items, these were it. I would agree that they need them. And the problem is with supply chain, if we don't get our names on them quick, or at least start the ball rolling to try to get our names on what's here now, or we could lose out and be in the same boat we're in, like with the last police cars, wait a year or 2 to get them in staff. So, I'm just asking permission to go out and contact leasing companies to figure out and get us some options for lease purchase and cost, now that we know our cost for these items.
Is it because you're going into a semi-contractual agreement by, giving the proposal or looking at these big ticket? I don't understand why it's different than just doing the budget. Is it because you're actually committing to something?
No, it's just, I wanna make sure we get the best bang for our buck.
But why is this different than any other budget process? If you're gonna need this equipment, why wouldn't it be part of it?
I need the equipment, we're not gonna be able to cash flow this equipment. So, I don't know, I know from one vendor what they estimate our payment would be per year, and when that payment would start based on when we take delivery of the equipment. But I don't know they're our best option.
So my question is, because I don't really understand this, is why do you need the council's approval in order to continue with, if this is a normal budgeting item? It might be a big ticket, but it would be part of the division's budget, right?
So it's a good question. So
You see
basically,
what I'm asking?
yeah,
I
I'm with
understand.
you. So what normally happens, and that is something that maybe we also in the future we need to address with his job description. But normally in actions like this, when we're sending somebody out to represent us, to be able to look at that, we have to empower them to be able to do that.
And so that was my question.
I see what you're saying, I didn't understand what you were saying first, yeah.
Okay.
I just wanna make sure that the council is on board with purchasing these items and us to get those agreements so we can look at them and make sure that we're purchasing them.
Okay, that makes sense.
I guess that was, yeah, I understood what you were asking, yes,
You
sir.
bring up a valid point that we need to start thinking about in the future for your job description on there. We need to be able to do that Because some of this stuff
Just having the authority to
just
do it.
having the authority.
Sounds good.
Exactly.
As of tonight, we're not obligated to the city for anything.
No,
No, we're just giving them,
just the ability to say, I'm here officially on behalf of the city.
can we get a motion for us to go ahead and authorize Matt to go ahead and,
So I make a motion for the authorization of the city administrator to obtain leasing options for public works and police department.
awesome. Thank you, get a motion on the floor. Second. Peace.
Second.
Thank you, I appreciate that. Sam was quick. He was a little bit quicker. Okay, I got a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Any opposed? All right. So Matt, put it on the list for Peach, okay? We'll take care of that. Okay, Chief, consider and act upon the intent to purchase 2 fully equipped police department vehicles from PPP.
So really what we're trying to do here, and we've never done this before, I may have some opposition to get these vehicles, and I understand that because the guy who works on our vehicles is here. So he knows we have a lot of cars, a lot of work right now, but, so what we're doing, again, because of this again, Matt and I talked, so because of the supply chain issue, normally we would wait and the budget would get approved in October, and in October, we would order a vehicle or whatever, or how we're gonna fund it. We do that in October. So what I need to do now, though, is we need to get authorization to do what they're calling a letter of intent, which is not a commitment from the city. The guy says it's not a commitment because they can sell them all day long, but because of supply chain issues, the dealerships, I mean, the manufacturers are not, they have what's called a bailment. Anyway, they only give them vehicles if they have people ready to buy them. So one person can't afford all the vehicles. And the attorney guy may know something about, I don't know. Anything about that? Okay, well, never mind. Anyway, I don't know anything about it, it's new.
I can briefly on this because I learned about it. Because of the supply chain shortage, what you're getting is these large organizations like Cap Fleet, let's say, would go out and say, we're gonna open the police Tahoe package order, place your orders. They would buy 500 of them, and then Joe Bob would get 2. And then they would have 500 on their lot just sitting there waiting for somebody to buy them, when this guy actually had 5. So they're trying to even the playing field. You tell me you have 5 intent to purchase, and I will sell you 5 right now.
They'll give them out of the allotment. So basically, I just need to do a letter of intent, which I don't have a sample one, but I guess we'll get one. We'll get one from them, a letter of intent. And that way they can go ahead and tag vehicles for us. Because when they built the 2024 Tahoes, the ordering period for the dealerships is open like 29 hours. I mean, that's really it. That's what they do. It's like that many hours for all those dealerships to get their orders in. So that's why we need this. And this is based on if we get 2 fully equipped vehicles using a lease deal like what Matt's working on. And then the first payment, if we'll take delivery of them after October 1, the first payment won't even be in next year's budget. It'll be the next year's budget before we make that payment. So it's really not even something that's going to affect this coming year budget. That's just the way the lease plate people work. I mean, that's how, it's just how they do it. So that's it. And again, as far as a total, I mean, this is not an exact total because there was a few discrepancies and a few things weren't in here, but it would be in the same general ballpark as what we had, before, which was 143,000. So it wouldn't, from best I can tell, it would not exceed that. It would actually, because we're going to change up our camera system and go with a different system. It's going to cost us less, but we're going to pay an annual service on it, but probably. So that's what we're looking at right now.
No fiscal impact at this point, just a letter saying we intend to purchase those. That's it.
Just
No
to get us,
obligation. We can back out anytime.
yeah. And if we don't, unfortunately, if we don't do that, then, we're going to be, we may end up, by the time we could get something, well, it's just the way the game's played right now. Other than that, I don't know how to tell you.
I move that we give Chief Priest the authority to issue the letter of intent.
Okay.
And,
Okay.
And that'll be Chief Priest signing the letter,
if y'all,
or
I
me?
don't need to sign, as far as I'm concerned, if Matt wants to sign stuff, better for me.
It doesn't matter. I just think we just need to authorize who's going to sign that intent.
I'd say let Matt, because he
I'll
can,
sign it.
Want to amend it?
Yeah, I amended to have city administrator work with the chief,
Yeah.
with the administrative.
That's-
Second amendment, okay, amendment second.
Second amendment.
Any further discussion on that? All those in favor? Any opposed? Okay, thank you. Okay, H, consider and act upon amending job description for city administrator to include supervision of certain departments, employee matters, and other organizational issues.
So we talked about several things when I came on board about when things would fall under me, what wouldn't, stuff like that. In the 2.5 months I've been here, we've already identified some issues where we need the day-to-day operation. We need that person to be able to say, this is the decision, and, we need to move in that direction. We don't have that now, because I don't have that authority to say, based on everything I've gathered from the council, this is the direction they would want to go. And if it's wrong, it'll be on me. Right now, that comes down to every department head, and it's slowing things down for us. So we need to, at some point, figure out how to do that. We've got employees, vacant position in Paula's office that we need to hire, and it's a budgeted position, it's a low-level position. Do we need to bring those back before council, or like we've talked before, through the attorneys have explained it, hire and fire can happen with the city administrator if the power is granted there, in my opinion, the lower level employees, right? Non-department heads. And that way, we can hire them. Chief needs to hire a policeman, James, they're in the budget, no fiscal impact. The department head and city administrator agree it's the right person for the position. Let's move forward like that. And it just gives us the authority or the ability to streamline what we do and then handle things. So for instance, if I'm going to bring Chief up just because he's easier to work with, but Chief and I disagree on something.
Everything.
We need to do this. Y'all need to, hey, I'm getting a lot of calls from the residents. We need to get better patrols out there. His response could be, Matt, I don't really care what you think. I don't work for you. Tell the council to ask. And we got to wait 2 weeks for something to happen. So, in my opinion, we need to do something. So, if y'all think that's the direction we're going, I think we move forward. I'm not asking to change anything we do. It's just now when we have an issue, it can be addressed at that moment versus having to wait 2 weeks, make an agenda item, and putting our laundry out for everybody to watch and see.
The department head could always appeal through agenda to the council to
If there was
bring up
something,
for discussion.
let's say there was an issue that, again, operated, Chief did something wrong and I felt it was wrong and I documented and we wrote him up, right? He could appeal that back to council. It gives us the ability to appeal things to a higher authority. Right now, you're that higher authority. And if you terminate somebody, who do they appeal it to? The same people who just terminated them. So they don't really have a review board to review what happened.
So with procedural or work-related stuff, basically what we're talking about is you would have that responsibility. So if they needed to get feedback or they needed anything to get done, redirection, improvement plan or anything for a department head, you would have that authority based on that.
Yes, and it would come from one sole source. You wouldn't have a department head possibly having in a day 5 different members come to him and say, hey, go do this. And then this one comes and says, no, don't do what he just told you, go do this. No, don't do what he told you. What's that department supposed to do? If you've got 5 councilmen telling him different directions to go, or if the councilman would come to the city administrator and say, let's do this, I could have that discussion. Now, hold on, I just talked to this person and they said, let's do this. Let's get a game plan together and give one direct message to that department head how to move.
For the city employees as department heads, it's simpler because Matt would be my boss, not y'all. I mean, I don't mean that disrespectfully, but it would take y'all out of that loop. He would be the one I report to, And it's simpler for us because, well, it's a sole source, it's, one person, and that's where, I think because where we are, we can catch ourselves chasing each other's tails a lot.
But we're still looking at, we're talking about just normal work, normal everything. If for some reason Rich is not doing good and we're talking about, okay, we need to get a new police chief. right? At that point, it's not your decision, it's council.
So it would be my opinion, I'm gonna talk high level, low level employees. Low level employees, anything below your department head, everyday employee. If myself and that department head can't determine the best person for the job, how do we expect you to? Because all you're gonna get is what we give you anyway. A department head is a high level employee. In my opinion, the council needs to take an active role in who that person is, who they hire, and who they fire. I should be able to document if they're doing bad. It gives me the ability to start creating that documentation trail to bring before the council and say, hey, look, I've documented here. This is the policy you violated. I wrote him up on this. Again, they did it. I wrote him up on this. We need to take a course of action. We need to do something more.
So they did something positive.
Or they did something good, right? Or hey, they were doing something bad. We created a plan and they worked on that plan and they fixed it and we're all better for it. But at some point, we got to streamline what we do. We get calls here every day. Paul and I had a call today. We were trying to discuss our ordinance says a person has to come in person to register. When all of them are out of Houston and they're not even working here yet. At some point, we need to be able to make executive level decisions and say, yes, that person can register and send you everything by email, and it worked out, and then they can come in person and pick up their permit. You can verify what you need to. It's simple, but we need somebody to say, I'm willing to take on that, and if it's wrong, I'm the person that the council says, hey, you messed up, and here it is.
And the other side with that, Matt, is maybe you can expand or what our plan would be. We have to address with policy, but if you as individual councilman have an issue with the police department, then I don't know, potentially you come to the city administrator. We don't know how that works out in a normal city. Maybe the city attorney
That's normally how it works.
That's what I was going to say. So that would
normally
be the issue. It's going to take the council out of the more, which would be good because you got more time. It's going to take you out of the more day-to-day operations of the city, and put it more into one person, a deal like that.
But that's what this position entails.
That's what it is.
It entails me working with all of you to ensure what we do on a day-to-day basis is what your vision is for the city.
I don't see a problem with the administrative part. What I have an issue with is the hiring and firing part. Are you insinuating that you can go above or over the department head and hire and fire someone?
Depending on how you do this, somebody's got to have that authority.
Right.
If
So
it
my
needs to stay with the
understanding
council-
it should be the
so-
department head. So let's talk about the utilities department, and they have personnel that they have problems with. The department head for that department should be able to hire and fire that person if they wanted to.
They
Right?
don't have that authority.
No.
They currently don't have that.
No.
And that's not
But it
typically how
sounds to
most.
me like that's what we're
No, right
being asked
now,
now.
James, if he wanted to fire someone for not showing up, would have to make an agenda item,
Right.
come before us, present his case, and we would have to vote on firing an hourly wage guy.
And that was my understanding, and I agree with that, but what it sounds like you're asking is that you're asking to be able to go beyond that and fire that person.
Now, yes, I'm saying now, James, he's got that employee and he's documented it.
Right.
I looked at the documentation, I confirmed it's legal, and we believe it's legal, and it's just. I could terminate that person on the better behalf of the city, and if they didn't like it, they could appeal it back to the city council and have an appeal
Yeah,
process.
that's what I'm having a problem. I personally don't want to see one person have that authority.
No,
Without going
well,
through
think of
the
it this
city
way, it's a two-tier system, Michael, because you have a department head that says, hey, this person's not doing what they're doing. They haven't been able to do, so you already have the department head saying, hey, it's time. And then you have the city administrator reviewing and saying, okay.
I don't have a problem with that, but that's not what I was asking. What I was asking is you go over the department head and go directly to that employee and fire that employee.
I think at that point,
It has,
That's what I'm gonna do.
it has to come from somebody. Right now, you all sitting together act as one. So ultimately, one board, does that. So somebody's got to be that person that says, on behalf of the city, you've been terminated.
So I
It
think
would be,
you're,
I would work with the
The
department
question
head.
I'm asking is, you're going over the department heads.
so your question is, if Matt comes to me and said, we're firing I'm firing Danny Robinson, I'm gonna be like, well, what do you mean, what's going on, what are you talking about, you know? That's what you're talking about.
Yes, sir.
And see, I'm not
He does it.
envisioning, I'm envisioning, I would be the one, because he's not really gonna have the knowledge to
I'm
know
not
what's
gonna know
going
the
on.
day-to-day.
So I would have to go to him and say, we've got multiple, you know, this guy came to work drunk 3 days and.
Here's all my documentation.
And I agree with that. I just want to make sure that I'm comfortable when we make this motion and we accept
He's
it,
talking about
that that's the understanding.
working with the department.
Oh, yeah, here, my
No,
vision,
because I
total
don't,
vision.
not you personally, but I do not want your position to be able to go and directly fire an employee.
You will, anytime you terminate something, you gotta have, well, I guess you don't have to have a paper trail, but you get ready for the legal battle, but yeah, you would have a paper trail. My envision would be a department head would address it initially, write them up to that.
That's
If
fine.
it's another violation, that department head would take the second step, and at that point, they would confer and involve the city administrator.
And
Now,
that's
now I
fine.
begin to have, I say me, the city administrator begins to get the background knowledge.
Right? Only if you have documentation.
Yes, you have to have documentation.
I'm saying that this guy's not, you know, he's been written up.
And that's
If it's
fine.
not on paper, it didn't happen.
I'm just falling back to what Chief Reese was
Yeah.
saying. I don't want that scenario.
And I think we can amend what you're describing is normally a city would have within its own employee procedures manual, how any disciplinary action is handled against an employee. And there is a documentation process usually required, and
Yes.
we usually do highly recommend that to the city, because that usually avoids any grievance being filed against the city.
Because not only are you gonna
So
go
that-
after, before you're going after the department head as well.
Yes, and
And
so,
then they, you know,
we can
they,
amend
all of a
the
sudden, they're not
policy
the
to do
department
that.
head.
Yeah, we can amend the employee handbook that include those bank procedures.
Hey, brings up the,
I can tell you from just experience here, if there's a department head that doesn't feel comfortable with something, the department head is gonna bring it to the council. So I think that avenue is still gonna be available if for some reason there's some.
But I'm looking in the future. We have good personnel here. We have great people in the city staff. I'm not disputing that or arguing about that or trying to say that we don't. I'm looking in the future, because whatever we do today is gonna carry on until it gets amended again.
yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So I just want to
So-
make
I'm
sure.
with you, I'm totally with you, because I'm also looking at it as a department heads, because I know there's other communities that allow the administrator to hire and fire the department heads. And for us, I think what would probably be better is for us to bring that to the council. And that doesn't
But
put that,
that would be what I'm looking
so I know exactly what you're talking about.
And if we're gonna do, now would be a good time, I'm glad you brought up the policy, so we're working on our policy manual. We can complete it and finish it the way we've always done it. And then in 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, whatever y'all decide, if y'all ever need to put the department heads under the city administrator, we then have to pay the attorneys to review it all over again to make those changes. We're already paying them, we're already working with them right now for the review. If we're gonna do it, let's just fix it now and work for it. And we can address the processes of how all that works. They've got a great legal lawyer that does employment stuff that marked up some good stuff for us that we're working on.
Well, let me just summarize this to make sure I understand. We, the council, would retain the authority to hire or fire department heads. And we would give the city administrator the authority to work in conjunction with department heads to come up with plans of action for improvement plans for workers or to fire. So just.
To hire and fire the employees, yes, but working with the department, oh, yeah, yeah.
And with a plan of action, or to fire, or leading ultimately to the possibility of being fired. Or upon the department head's recommendation, we give you the authority to hire an hourly wage person.
All yeah, for sure. All the documentation on the employees have to come from the department head.
There's one more thing with that. The other thing is we're giving him the opportunity that if we need to help a department head and they need redirection, we're giving him the authority to go ahead and start the feedback and start the improvement plan.
Apart from coming to us with a.
Correct.
Right. So he would ultimately come to us and say, I addressed an issue, I kind of kept it to myself, I worked with the department head, here's what we've done, and now I'm at the point where I want the council to act.
That's correct. That's correct.
All of the department heads in there somewhere.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Well, you would think, once we get to points like that, those would be closed session employee matter issues we would discuss in executive session with both the employee and the administrator on what's going on. And the council would know every step of the way of what's going on. If you've got a problem with an employee, doesn't matter who the employee is.
Now, the head of the department, when you write somebody up, he needs to talk to that person. I don't know. This is the reason we're.
Yes, sir.
That's-
Everything has
that's
to be
already in the
documented,
policy.
and then that gets forwarded back to me here as the HR put in a personnel file. So I would always see what's going on by reading those and putting them in the HR file. And then I would think, level two, if it's the same file, like you have different things, right? If they did this and it corrected it, but they had a minor infraction, they're not already at level two, they're back at level one again. But if the department head says, hey, I'm stepping it up a level, I'm gonna issue, days off or suspension. I think that's whenever they need to get, if I'm gonna be the one in charge of HR, the policy, or the job descriptions now, I would then step into that because I would be HR and make sure, hey, we're all in line, let's confer with legal, we're all good, let's move forward.
Can we word that without using the word HR? I still think this staff needs an HR representative. And it needs to be somebody from the outside. Shouldn't be somebody within. So can we word that without using the word HR? And just give
I think we have to have HR
city
now, though.
administrative privileges.
Are you saying you would
I
have?
said, what I'm saying is that at some point, all organizations need HR, and that HR department should not be a staff member. They should be someone that works under the HR capacity. Because there's a lot of personal things that go on, and you really don't want your manager to find out personal things. You want to go through the HR department. Now, tell me if I'm wrong, but that's the way it works where I work.
Traditionally, and the way it is in policy manual right now, is the city secretary is the HR person for the city.
Right.
And she had been doing that for years and years and years.
But I would like to steer away from that. At some point, the city's gonna be large enough where we can have our own HR person or
That's
HR
correct.
staff.
Yeah,
Eventually.
but right now we have the person identified now, it moved in under
So my
this
question is,
job
can we
description.
give your job description the same legality without using the word HR?
I think we need to have the HR identified now,
Yes.
which is me now. And then when we get to that next level, just like we did with any other position, we removed it from here and put it here because now was the time to move
I
it.
think the issue, Michael, may be, if it's a matter of trust issue, by hiring Matt as our city administrator, we trust him to handle these things. And we trust that in any matter that might get into the legal realm, his first act is gonna be calling this gentleman over here and saying, I have an issue, it deals with an employee, we may have to fire this person, here's what we've done so far. Before I act as the HR guy and give the go-ahead, I want your legal opinion on what I should do. And by hiring him and paying him the millions of dollars we pay him every year, we trust him. We trust him to do the right thing and not violate any principles of propriety in the HR realm.
So, yeah, I agree with that. And I'm probably gonna catch a lot of flack for saying this, but I don't wanna fall backwards.
I
I don't
agree
wanna
with
go back to previous administrations.
I agree with you.
Now, that may sound bad, but I have to say that. And it's nothing personal against you, I just wanna make sure that, we are looking forward to the future, because, Charles has mentioned it, it's been mentioned many times, the number of people we're gonna have in the city of Lidle.
I agree, and I believe when we get to that point, we have an HR department that people say. Right now,
But let's look at things proactively, let's make sure
But it would
we
be
are
our
on track.
whole position right now, new paid position in the city to handle.
At some point,
How often, every day do you handle an HR issue? Every week?
not often.
not often, so it's not bad, but I can tell you right now, in looking at our HR files, we'll probably have to recreate 90% of them, which is gonna take a lot of work. Luckily, the chief has a whole lot of them because he kept them, so they didn't get lost, but our HR system, just today, just going through old files to throw binders away that should have had junk in them, I found HR stuff in it and injury reports in it, which I was dumbfounded.
Let's just move forward. Let's be proactive.
That would be my approach. Yes, sir.
But
Okay,
for the
so,
meantime, we need to leave the HR authority with you.
Yeah, I agree with your motion, so if that's your motion, I can second.
Well, I had made a motion.
Because you were talking about it.
Yeah. I just didn't want to cut it out. I heard you saying cut it out, and until we're ready to hire an HR person or department, somebody has to have the authority to do that, to handle the HR issues. And it needs to be, I think, a single point of contact. And now, since we're already paying to do everything, should be that single point of contact, especially if we're given the authority to work with department heads to hire and fire our employees.
you make a motion?
Well, let me try to word it correctly so we don't have to make too many amendments. I move that we amend the job description for our city administrator to include supervision of the department heads, all department heads, and to work in conjunction with them on hiring and firing issues of department subordinates. And also give him the authority in HR matters in representing the city council and other organizational issues as he sees fit. Is that comprehensive enough?
I'll second that.
Okay.
Get all that, Paul? Matt, does that sound reasonable to you?
Yes, sir. I think
Is
so.
that what you were looking at?
I think it'll streamline us and let us move forward.
And this isn't an amendment to it, but I assume you're gonna work hand in hand with our legal department, because they probably already have a draft of everything.
So they would have to draft a new ordinance amending the job description for me, and then under the job description for all the department heads, it would amend those to just say reports to, and take out city council, put in city administrator.
I move that we do that and not wait to come back for another meeting and run it by us again.
No, they'll draft it and have it for the next meeting, just like we did the last 3 ordinances for all of us, and maybe we could make it
That's
one.
that's my
I
motion.
think all you gotta do is just the job description, right?
Yes, that's right.
Because the ordinance is already
Come
written, saying whatever is reflected on the job description. So we're just gonna do the job description and it's a done deal. of being able
So
to
if you guys can work hand in hand to
Yeah, we get it.
amend those job descriptions, that's my motion.
So, we got a motion, got a second, discussion,
You don't have to bring in words back for a vote.
no, we pretty much already said that as long as the job description is updated.
The job
My
description.
motion
part
is
of
to amend the job description to reflect these things we talked about.
So once it's done, it's done. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, all right. Okey dokey, let's see. Yeah, this is 8:08. We're gonna go ahead and take a break, but before we do that, last meeting, we actually missed out on the opportunity to highlight somebody that his birthday was on the 18th.
Oh, no.
So it was Michael's. So we missed out the opportunity to be able to highlight him on there. So we've added him to the list, we got him in there. We can't miss the opportunity, so here we go. Happy
birthday to you.
Cha cha cha.
Happy birthday to you.
Cha cha cha.
Happy birthday, dear Michael. Happy birthday to you.
There we go. All right, there we go.
I just like to say that once you pass 60 years old, it's kind of nice to be forgotten every so often. So-
We didn't ask you how old. We just got the news.
That's why I said
Man,
past
you just
60.
said- Okay, so let's go ahead and take a 10-minute break.
Yeah, there's snacks.
Oh, where is it hidden?
Audio's back live.
That's what the different strokes for different folks.
Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and, show, show at 8:22, we're back. And so we're gonna go ahead and jump right into 7, so don't get too comfortable in your seats, but go ahead and cover the agenda item. It's, item number 7, executive session, persistent to the Texas Government Code, chapter 551, subchapter D, section 551.071, consult with the attorney. Section 551.072, deliberations of real property, and section 551.07, deliberation regarding economic development negotiations to discuss and consider the following items. We have 3 items that we'll actually be talking in executive session. Considering the sale of city-owned real property near Farm to Market, 2798 County Road, 6710 Lidle, Texas. Discussion of pending economic development negotiations, SAEDC prospect and Project Mockingbird. And C, updated report on pending litigation matters against the city. So, Paula, if you can actually show us, we're gonna go ahead and break for executive session. It is 8:23, and we're gonna go ahead and go to the back room. So in that second half, Jesse, if you can go ahead and join us, Matt, if you can also join us.
You want to leave that way it's not. Catch on top.
Department at 6 o'clock every morning.
That's right. You could be waiting on me.
Yeah.
You know, I forgot about that. He was
Either come back and it would have a black mark on there or something.
I'm getting old, man. I'm getting old. I'm losing my.
Okay. Okay, go ahead and show us back. Oh, it's 8:58. No action taken. Executive session. Move on into number 8. Reconvene in open session. Take action on items discussed in executive session. Sale of property or purchase of real property. No actions taken on that. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and move on to number 9. Now, this is our opportunity to go ahead and hear from our department reports. So first one we have Santi.
Nobody pushes the little arrow button, the mouse thing doesn't work, so it's just a clicker left and right. I keep hitting that.
This one right?
Yeah, just left and right, there you go.
Month of June for us. Had 107 calls for service, set 2 trucks out. Transported 19 animals out and took in 15. Pulse cats, 2 Texas Main Heroes, and then they took, a couple weeks later, took 7 more cats from us. Had 4 volunteers. The Kurt donated in city fund down to June 30th, 4,000 in the medical, 4,604 in the spay neuter, 4,668 in the facility fund. I couldn't find it on the email that Lynette had sent me of my balances.
We're still trying to locate where that money even, we don't know where it is. I don't know how she was tracking that. I'll talk to Lynette when she gets back, but there was some discussion, because we talked about like our spends out there. We did use some money from that to help cover some of those costs, because y'all had some budget shortfalls, but we don't really know where that was.
I know. You gotta peel the onion on that.
Yes.
And so far this year, we euthanized 5 animals and adopted 4 out and transferred 144 to rescues. This past, that was time for 68 pet owners came for food, 18 people, 2 from Lytle, 1 from Castroville, 3 from Italia, 2 from San Antonio, total up to 76 animals were served. Cats, including cats and dogs are there. I don't have to split on how many dogs or cats. That's it.
Council?
Really,
I have one question. I stopped by out there the other day. I noticed a young child in the other day in the break-in area. Is that a normal occurrence?
no, she had just gotten her daughter from daycare because her dad was going to pick her up.
Okay, so it doesn't happen like
No.
every day, is that?
No.
Because it's, there's kind of a smelly place out there, and
Yeah.
had a little kid running around. I wondered if it was-
Yeah,
Santi,
so
transport, tell us a little bit about what's happening here in the next few weeks.
we have tomorrow I'll be taking 4, I'm not too sure on the numbers, 4 or 6. I'll be meeting the rescue road trips. They're going to be taking these dogs to Canada. And we got California taking, I'm not too sure on the numbers, but they're going to be taking some more animals from us. They'll be coming down like they did last time, pick up the animals from us, and then they'll transport them to California.
Now, the ones for California, they don't require the spay and neuter, right?
No.
Okay, but the ones for Canada do.
Yes.
So can you tell the council what the vet is doing that's
Oh,
worked
yeah,
out there?
the Dragonfly, that fifth wheel that was out there, it's out there, normally pulled. They took it back to do some repairs on it. They help us do with our spay neuters, to get these animals out faster, not really much of a cost to us. It's Lytle Animal Allies that is helping us out with these surgeries and stuff that they're doing for us. So they're pretty good. They do the service pretty quick compared to others.
So they service when they bring out the trailer and they're out there, it's not only servicing the people that come in and pay, you guys just bump the rates for the, the rates that are being sponsored, right?
Yes, yes.
But the other thing that they actually do, they also provide the opportunity to take care of our actual dogs and cats, which in turn will open the opportunity for us to be able to get them transported. Because some of these places actually
Require them to be
require
spayed
them
neutered.
to be spayed and neutered.
Do you know what they do with the dogs when they go to Montreal or to?
The rescue takes them and then they have adopters up there. We take pictures and videos. Rachel takes pictures and videos of them and sends them to them, and from the videos and pictures that they receive and stuff, and all
So
the
they
information.
select certain dogs.
They select the
dogs.
dogs, and then
Okay.
from there they go up there, and then they have.
And we usually, I remember, I know it's been a while, but we usually used to get pictures from the dogs
Yeah.
at Seattle and,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, we used to get pictures from.
From all these places, then,
When they've been placed. with
Yeah.
dogs.
yeah.
Like we had a lady a while back from New York come down to pick up the dog she adopted one, and she was at the producer for Sesame Street and stuff like that.
Connecticut, that's the one.
Yeah.
Connecticut.
I always remember the one in Seattle because they had them, they took a picture and it's sitting at the window looking out and it's rainy. Seattle, the typical, but the dog is there and you can just see him real happy, but it's looking out at rain, but
And we have pictures of dogs playing in the snow that they never see here in Texas, really.
So that's one of the ways that we kind of help ourselves with being able to take care of that. I will tell you that Matt and I are working with Santi, Sam also included in there. We're trying to figure out, different procedures, different things we're trying to do. Want to think outside the box. I think with adoptions, with local adoptions also to try to help that out. But I know we're supposed to have a meeting this week sometime.
Yeah.
Yes, I think I got finally for Friday before.
Yeah, Friday.
Friday
So-
4 p.m.
So we'll begin together with them and we'll come back to the council. Anything for some? Thanks
Oh,
for
and
taking
then,
it.
here, there's a house here in Lytle, on Lytle, Somerset. People moved out, left some, cats and pigs behind, 2 pigs. So I'm working with the rescue to come get these, the pigs out of there. And I have traps set out there for these cats. I've caught 5, I got 5 already. There's about 2 more cats hanging around.
Lytle Somerset Road?
Yeah, Lytle, Somerset, Cornell Red House.
Bruce.
Bruce.
Yeah, those people, someone bought the property and there's a big dumpster in the back already. So they're gonna be doing demos soon, and I'm trying to get a hold of whoever's in charge of that because I wanna tell them I got cats in there that we'll try to get out. I called that dumpster company. They're supposed to give the info, but no one's, I talked to Paul and no one's come to get anything. So there's
So my question is, if they've abandoned the animals, why aren't we looking at an animal cruelty case?
Well, the gentleman called, Christopher Lisco, is his name? I guess they couldn't load these pigs up in the trailer. They were able to get the goat, but they couldn't get these pigs in there. They called.
We have state law that we need to follow. I mean,
So, I don't know.
He just told me they're in Mexico, so it's gonna be a
Yeah,
while.
that's what I heard. The
If
lady
they
told
are.
me that they went to
They're in
Mexico.
Tulinga.
Where?
Tulinga.
That's close enough, isn't it?
So there's no way I
It's
can
in
get in
Texas.
contact. There's no way I can get in contact with the owner. So there's just this gentleman that called us on Monday. So,
it just, at some point, if we don't, I understand this is a different case, but if we don't take action like that at some point, that just becomes the norm because they know
yeah.
we're not gonna do anything. And people just abandon
Full
their animals.
disclosure, that's my sister.
Well, will you go get them pigs?
So I'm just trying to get a hold of the rescue to come get these. They just don't do that, they just lay around. And I've been going over there trying to giving them water and, some food and stuff like that. The lady next door too gives them some food as well. And
Is there
make
any
sure they
reason
have
why
water.
we can ask, see if anybody wants to take them?
Yeah, I reached out to the rescue, I haven't heard anything back from someone else can take them, but I don't know who else to ask who wants pigs.
These are pet pigs, they're not.
Yeah, they're huge.
Jesse, would this prevent us from just advertising, these are abandoned animals, if anybody wants them, you can adopt them for free? You just gotta load them and take them?
If they'd be like a stray, so
Yeah.
there's the usual holding period before to give the owner the opportunity to claim them. Right?
Well,
And then
we know the owner is not gonna come back.
Yeah.
They said that, I talked to the guy, he said, the lady said I can try to find a rescuer for somebody who's willing
So
to.
you already talked to the owner?
Or like
Okay.
Christopher guy who's
Okay.
in contact at the middle person.
So could we legally advertise, if somebody wants these pigs, you can have them?
Yes, once we are able to verify, I know you
Yeah,
kind of get
yeah.
indirect information, but
Okay,
Council
so-
would help
okay.
get that information directly.
Chris is her son. I asked her, she was aware of what was going on, and she said yes. She was told by him that they were being rescued, so.
So we can make arrangements, like, probably just to confirm it, email or
So
something.
exactly, that's what I was gonna say, is there any way we can get an email
I can try to get hold of that.
to Santi? Just close the loop with Santi, have them close the loop that from my sister?
Yeah.
I can try. They don't have a lot, I mean, we can talk about it later, but.
We'll work on it.
If somebody in
It's
there.
very difficult to get a hold of now, they went, there's no service.
Yes, that's what Christopher said. There's no service out there, so it's hard to.
Text would work, right? Text would work? Text
I
would
can
work.
have them.
Text,
Let's see what we do, and then we'll move to the next level if we need to. With
And once you're
advertising.
able to establish that they've been, that the owners release them,
Yes.
then yes, of course, you could go ahead and look up for adoption, rescue, whatever you.
Right, and that's all that.
No.
Thanks for taking.
Sandra wants a
Appreciate it.
There's two of them.
Okay.
They're only about some.
Welcome home, Sam.
That's what you bought them pigs.
We call it. Nickname on bacon.
One is named Bacon.
Well, problems solved. Just the arrows, yeah, just the, yeah.
Got too many cats.
So we're going to continue to sign up a little bit more every time people are slowly starting to come back in at 91 this time, and then the first kids' computers they're always fighting over. I said, okay, it's 20 minutes, wait till your timer, so they're working out. Checkouts also went up 1,512. We had a lot of people last month. 13 new accounts, 45 were renewed, and then April made 56 library cards. And then we started up a story time. It's working out, just got an average about between 5 and 8 kids that are coming to story time. So we'll probably start the craft nights in the fall. We're gonna wait for those one. And we're still working on this, but we did get 3 sections done, and we still have 3 more sections to go. It's just with some reading program, it kind of got put on hold. And we're still offering this service because we do have some ladies who just don't want to come in, and some, it's also because they're elderly and it's harder for them to come inside the library, so they prefer this method. We had a great success with the Tame trailer. We had 176 people come to this. And we had it back in 2017 and it was only 104, but it was real slow when we had it in 2017. And then this time we had, it was steady. I was like, okay, you have to wait. Let me, we're just putting the kids on the curb. Okay, 6 people at a time. You can go and follow it. We had a couple of volunteers who helped me to take the kids out to the trailer. And we also had the volunteers who were inside the trailer who were at each of the stations. It was like weather, aerodynamics, 5 different sections. And so everybody did a really good job.
It was, I tell you, and kudos to you and the staff, because lots of great feedback from families. They really enjoyed that, and they were already asking if you guys could be back next year because they want to bring other people to it.
Probably not, because we have to give a chance to another library who hasn't had that chance before. So that's why you have to wait like every other year to apply. So we were gonna apply in 2019, and I think we didn't get it. And then of course 2020 came through, they didn't have it, and they didn't have it last year. So as soon as I got this email, I think back in May, I applied right away. And then we heard back, I think in late June or something like that. So we were like, okay, yay, this is gonna work out really good. So
Our family went through it. It was very nice. And kudos to Ruben Junior for
Oh, yes, he-
volunteering to man one site inside the trailer.
Yeah.
He did a great job.
he did a good job.
Science guy. But no, honestly, it's you guys. You guys did a great job when it came through. The two people that came, what were their names?
Clifton, and that was his wife, but I can't think of her name.
Just for the council to know, they highlighted by them. They were just like, this is the best turnout that they've had.
Yeah, because she said that other places that people didn't want to come out to the heat, people didn't want to come out due to the COVID, that's the reason that they. And we even had the daycare center, we didn't know they were gonna show up, and we're like, oh, we're here, okay, we had to kind of like put people around just to get them in there. But, it worked out, because Nicole was supposed to do story time, and for the ages 2 to 5 and others, she's like, you can't do story time. I said, you know what, just read a story, and we'll find another activity for them to do. So she read a story, and then they got a coloring sheet for all that went in their section off around the library. So, it worked out really neat. And then the textbook that's correct, that was a success. We had 2 open house events, and the books are getting checked out by both adult and children. And the ones who are struggling readers are very happy with these books. They come in and they're like, where are those big thick books? And so I show them where they are, and they're working out really well. So I'm hoping to get some more for the library.
Yeah, stop by and take a look at those books.
They're really nice, especially the kids who have dyslexia or other form of, when they start to read. It's so much bigger. The print is so much better for them than the traditional book. And so I tell the kids, a lot of kids don't know who this is. Fonz, he's dyslexic himself, and I met him at a library conference years ago, and he told everybody there, all the librarians, that he was dyslexic. And the only reason he found out he was dyslexic was because his son was dyslexic. So he didn't know he had that same issue, and he's like, now. And so he and this other author came up with a font that's specifically geared to kids who have dyslexia. And so it's really nice. We have a few of these books in the library. And of course, we're still working on those. I just have to finish the report for that. And this is just, I had 2 because they did not fit in both. And of course, these are the displays that we had for last month. We won't have as many for this next month because there wasn't a whole lot. So our main thing was Shark Week, so I'll have Shark Week pictures for next month. But for June, it was a zoo and aquarium, so we made a fake aquarium on one side and a zoo on the other side in the kids area. And then it was Adopt a Cat Month, and of course I put it out there so that they could go to the local animal shelter, and we had a fake stuffed cat that everybody was trying to touch, and I'm like, no, leave the cat alone. We had to tie the cat down, people kept grabbing it, and then it wouldn't stay whenever they would put it back. I was like, no, don't touch it. And then we have D-Day display and National Candy Month. We had a jar of candy. They had to guess how many candies were in the jar, and whoever guessed the right amount was getting a candy jar. And then April, we borrowed her daughter's camping tent there, and then my niece's dolls. And so we put them on, and everybody's like, oh, that is so neat. They really loved it. They kept wanting to open it. I'm like, no, don't open it because it'll fall down on you. Just look at it. And then National Outdoor Month, or Great Outdoors. I found a bunch of these little toys and I just stuck them up on top so they look like go out, have fun. And then National PTSD Awareness, and then there was Rose Month, Fruits and Veggies, and Headache and Migraine Month, and then the Turkey Lovers Month and Dairy Month. So we had all these different little things around. So that people, and they're like, can we take them? Like, yes, you can check out the stuff that's there.
No kudos.
So, if y'all have any questions?
Please stop by if you haven't been there lately. Stop
You have
by.
to see the Shark Week
It's pretty neat.
display that we did this month. It looks really nice.
Just don't play the song.
Oh, yeah. That was
Just get you going with that song. All right, Super Skip. You got his
Evening.
Good.
I got the cake.
Got the cake right there. There you go. There you go.
Okay. It's been a slow month as far as people watering their yards. I approached 8 residents this past month and gave them stage 3 water restrictions because they were using sprinklers out in their yard. Now, there are several people that will hand water out there. They hand water the bushes, some of their plants they want to keep live. There's a couple people around that will actually water your grass, but it's legal to do that. So you can tell by the brown yards everywhere that people aren't using water for the yards that much, hardly ever at all. And where you you see green spots, I know the, city had a leak, or there's a leak of water meter on South Somerset Street almost a month ago. And the weeds and grass around it are still green. And it hadn't been watered. It was repaired about a month ago, and it's still green there. So if you see a green yard, it doesn't necessarily mean that people are watering it. It just, once it's got good enough moisture in there, it'll stay for quite a while. Yeah. I do make several trips over to Saddle Ridge, and almost every time I go over there, and when James goes over there, we catch somebody with the sprinkler on in the yard on freshly squared, planted grass. No occupants in the houses yet. They're still having sold. So we talked to the management person out there to let them know, hey, quit watering the grass out there. I understand you buy an expensive house, a nice house, and want a nice, pretty yard, but even though you're watering this nice grass that's out there, it's still gonna die in the weather that we're having right now. That's what I'm trying to explain to them when I catch them there, doing that. Most of the time, they're not occupied, so I leave them a stage 3 flyer in the door, take them to the door or window so they're aware of it. And I'll turn the water off in a couple of places. I'll turn the water meter off just to keep them from doing it, because there have been repeat offenders. And there's no one there that I can actually accuse of doing this. I'd have to catch the person doing it repeatedly. So I just want to make y'all aware that perhaps in the future, you may want to discuss with other developers xeriscaping the yards instead of grass. Just a suggestion. Last month I had 13 residents place brush out along the right of way. That's kind of low amount that had been going. These aren't repeat offenders, and I advised them of the ordinance that you place it 10 days prior to third Monday of the month in the right of way. So I did have a lot of fun picking up 33 bulky waste and debris along the residential sites this past month. That's a big number. About half of it was because waste management wouldn't pick up the bulky waste. And I'm going to need to probably discuss this with you at some point, Matt.
We're gonna have a Zoom meeting with actually waste management, so I need to know their opinion. Is it's stuff they said they will not pick up. That's the issue we're running into.
Yeah.
And they've identified it. When we send it to them, they come back and say, in our contract, here's why we didn't pick it up.
Well, in some parts, in their contract, actually the ordinance states, if I may repeat this here, that they're not to pick up construction debris generated by a third-party provider, meaning contractor, a home builder. A lot of this debris that's out here that they're not picking up is from private residentials, private citizens that are doing something in their house or outside, and say a fence blows down, and they're putting this old material out there to be picked up. It's not new construction material, and waste management's not picking it up. So there's going to be
ordinance or contract.
It's in. I can't.
I've got their contract. They're going to go by their contract. They're not going to go by what an ordinance for us
I'm
is.
taking for granted the ordinance is repeating what the contract says, so I need to check to
I've
see
got their
what-
contract. I can give it to you so you can compare.
Look at that. Gotcha. All right. So, we'll see where we'll go with that. Because I already know today they missed a bunch of bulky waste. I'm sure I'll be out there picking some more up. And as I mentioned earlier, I only had 8 people that I gave letters to concerning watering. And as brown as everything is out there, the weeds aren't even growing. I had very little people that I said, hey, you need to mow your yard. Maybe 3 possibly 4 this past month that I mentioned to him, we need to spot mow it, to clean it up a little bit. And back, in the winter time, I mentioned the problem with the rental property on Railroad Street. It had a septic problem. You know, the rental property at 14722 Railroad Street, the septic system is being repaired and the house is being remodeled, fixed up a little bit. Renters had left, and just for good news, fixing it up at that location. No things like that.
That's good.
That's about it. Don't have any questions?
Just comments, please keep up with the council's, previous permits. Have we added an extension to?
Yeah.
I know we got some that are coming up in September.
Oh, there is. Okay.
Yeah, and this should be 4.
Okay.
But I know of 2 for sure in September. Let's track those so we can get up front to them early on and make sure that they understand, so we're not catching them in the tail end. Council, you know, some of these we already extended a few times. So we need to make sure that we remind the folks, hey, there's only so much that we can do, right? Based on the circumstances. And we'll look at each one individually, but I think it's good for us to just know and keep track so we can go ahead and talk to them. But I just want to say kudos to you, Skip. We had a situation where stuff was dropped off or hauled to the entrance of coal mine right in there. Skip took it upon himself, worked with James, tried to figure out something, and was able to take care of the situation. And it was taken care of overnight. So really appreciate, the little extra. And then here recently with some of the other residents too, that some of the things that weren't picked up, you went out and took care of them.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
So appreciate that personal touch. Thanks, Skip. Appreciate it. All right, James.
Sign.
Good evening, everyone. We got a combination here. We put 2 months together, May and June. So, do this real quick. Okay, in May, we installed 6 new water meters, repaired 1 main break, replaced 8 water meters, replaced 1 angle stop, and fixed 4 service line leaks. We found 10 leaks that belonged to the customers, 1 sewer stoppage that belonged to them, and 1 that was ours. On locates, did 49 locates, 190 rereads on gas and water, 24 finals, 32 new customers. Cutoff list, we had 20 and we reconnected 17 of those. Miscellaneous work orders, 44. That's kind of a chart on our, but those rereads are from meter reading. Okay, and the monthly hours, water installation 9 hours, water maintenance 438, sewer maintenance 75, sewer plant maintenance 332 and a half, meter reading 165, rereads 43, just 1 hour on asphalt work and 9 hours on base. Locates for 44 hours, morning and shredded 27. 76 and a half hours on brush and miscellaneous 108 for a total of 2,028 hours. Had 64 hours of vacation, 27 sick, 16 personal hours leave, and 96 hours of holidays for 203. Here's kind of a chart on their man hours.
James, what drives the rereads? Why do you go on and reread?
Well, we bring them into the ladies here, and they, I guess they checked last month or 3 month average. I don't know exactly how it works, but if it's over a certain percentage, we do a reread, or if it's less than the month before or pretty close to the same, they send us out on rereads.
Okay. You see our new electronic meters doing away with a lot of that or all
I
of that?
sure hope so.
If we do
There
away
seems to
with
be a lot of man hour on rereads. I just
Oh,
wonder
yeah.
what's driving it.
But it takes, yeah, they give us 3 days every month. And we do, probably takes 6 of us 2 full days to do all the meters. We have like 1,600 water meters, 450 gas meters. Of course, we go out of town, you know, and then rereads, you know, they're in and out of town all over. So we have, I think, 8 books. We usually get like maybe 20 rereads per book, you know, so it takes time.
How many meters have you installed?
I think we have about 80, I heard about 80 reread meters in. We ordered 140 some odd the first time, and a couple of weeks ago, I think I got 192. So we're replacing everything with rereads.
We get a lot easier for you. It'll be a lot easier for you.
Oh, yeah. I guess once we get settled up, get some of these leaks fixed and stuff going on, we'll start putting these radio reads out of town, and that way somebody can drive out to Lucky Road and come back in
Good ball.
15 minutes and I have 100 reads, you know. So that's what we're hoping for.
Well, James, definitely great job this past month. We've kept them pretty busy. He had some manpower challenges the last few weeks, and they were able to adapt. They even come over the weekend to take care of some meter reading too, or finish, you know, the things that needed to be done.
2 guys out for meter reading this time.
So they did a great job. They've been working really hard with water leaks too. We have 681 that is being redone, the road, and there was a water leak that was there, and they took care of it overnight just to make sure that we didn't slow down the project. We were able to take care of, so they stepped up and took care of that, along with another leak. We had 2 that back to back to take care of that. And lastly, I just, you know, from all of us, James, I think we all just want to say thank you so much for taking care of our water well. You know, we've been waiting. We're still going to get together and celebrate after we get done with this whole project. We still have a couple of things, and I'll talk about it a little bit as my report, but just a heck of a job.
Thank you.
Is the hot weather impacting you guys at all as far as water line breaks or anything like that?
Not yet. We had one main break that looked like an old contractor hit it a couple of weeks ago, and it finally made it to the surface up there by the dead clinic.
And then you took care of the one up on the frontage road.
On the frontage road.
But we found out now we know. Skip just gave us intel, so we see a green spot. Grass is ready. Call James. Uh-oh. That's our intel now.
What I like is when we got there, we know there's a leak and we mark it. We have to wait for locates for 3 days, you know. We use white paint to mark on the road, you know. We put an arrow in City Alive, you know, and call for locates for that area. And then people start calling the office. They see the white marks and they notice the water leak, you know. So they start calling in for us.
You should paint a little body and then they'll call Richie.
Thank you.
All right, Richie. There we go.
My episode's long-winded now. Let's report, I sent back almost a month ago, back in July, so let me figure if this is a new deal here. They turn 90, cause I don't spend a lot of time here, but I will tell you, 6 motor vehicle collisions, that's a weird month. Danny kept redoing the numbers on that. 2 private property, sometimes we get 2 private property in HB parking lot in one day. So that's a weird deal there for 6 collisions. Only thing I can figure is traffic's so thick everywhere they can't get going fast enough where if they're gonna hit somebody, they can stop. I don't know. Anyway, I thought that's interesting. Business check, building checks. Issued a lot of citations, you know, I mean, we put those 25-mile-an-hour zones in and, you know, Somerset Street, guys are giving citations over there. Of course, we're getting pretty much speeding tickets everywhere. It's a lot of citations. I won't hold out, but it's nice, you know, it's nice seeing that, you know, we're getting a lot of numbers right now. It'd be hard to sustain that, I would think. as racial profiling stuff, and that's not kind of confused, because like I said, we're just going through the other reports that come out. That's your arrest. That type of stuff there, same old, nothing really. Warrants. Old vehicle, got stopped. 6:30, aggravated robbery and deadly conduct. Guy goes in a house and finds this guy's got his car. It's not, the guy's got other issues, I guess. But anyway, puts a gun in the guy's head, shoots in the ground and everything. Officers get over there, they make the arrest. Kind of interesting. And I bring that up because aggravated robbery is one of those things in your crime or your FBI crime report. That's how you determine your safest community, you know. So we've had 2 of them in the last month. I don't think we had any last year. So next year it's going to look like our violent crime doubled, you know. So just a little, when you see that, that's what it is. Well, actually, that robbery should be under there. But anyway, I don't know how to miss that. Excuse me. Burglary of vehicle at John White Park, couple vehicle burglaries, building burglary, Saddle Ridge, that was some copper from some AC units. Then burglary insulation from Saddle Ridge. I only expect those to increase as we get more subdivisions. It would not surprise me if you're not having, 8 or 10, 12 sets a week. If you end up with, 1,000 home sites under construction. The Burger building on 2790 North, now that's an interesting one. That's that farmhouse out there. It's like a Venus flytrap. We've made 3 arrests out there. That's the old Wanura place. We've had people break in and steal stuff. We've had people break in, and the last guy we got was just for criminal trespassing out there. They see that abandoned house, they go out there and they just, think they're gonna try to steal metal, and anything's not nailed down. What people do. But that's the 3rd arrest we've had out there in the last year. So criminal mischief, probably in there is very interesting. Slash tires, almost anytime you see slash tires and key cars, there's going to be a backstory to that, and that's going to be your mad boyfriend, somebody's, that's just not those backstories on all those. So. And sometimes it was just changed. It was a different people. It was reverse roles and somewhere, like say in Divine or something, and they come over here to get back, and it's just real interesting. Thefts of baseball gear that was, I think, in a vehicle. Dollar General beer, shopping bag, HEB. Chaparral Ford had 2 vehicles. Mine actually qualified. It wasn't theft, so I'm sure I'll be reported on the FBI side. That's a guy just went in there with a fake check and bought 2 vehicles for Chaparral Ford, and but evidently he's done it like a lot of places. But the vehicles recovered, he's been arrested, and DPS helped us with that because they were tracking him on a bunch of other stuff. Pawn shop, construction equipment, that 2300, that was something the guys out here working on the access road, the contractors. And then there's Doc Holiday, 78 sheets of plywood. Plywood's higher now than it used to be, as you can see. A lot of that stuff's a lot higher. 4 wheels and a tire from a house on Main Street, Buffalo Pond. Guy set his phone down, and a guy took it, and we got a warrant on that guy. And then Creek Street, trash can. There's a lot of stuff. Got a wallet found and returned to owner. Siren test, with the emergency management conference on June 1st, it seems like a lot longer, than that. It was, had guys, 6 to 6:10 is a 40-hour crisis intervention training that Lewis went to. That's a mandated class he has to have. Had about 5 officers go to Narcan training in Floresville. Had a department head meeting. As Frank has for the Little League. What else? We met with the U.S. Attorney on a case. That was Matt and Gordon and I in San Antonio on a case that guy used to live out in Lakeshore committed insurance fraud. Tech stop meeting and budget workshop, a lot of things like that. Fire marshal, the gym down there. Small town gals, Lucky Clover Coffee and El Monte Tattoos. David went down there to the initial inspection down there. That's next to the barber place, tattoo parlor. First one here, I think.
Oh, they're opening up right there in that building?
Allegedly, yeah.
Must be the clothing?
Yes, sir. El Monte, I don't know what the last stats on it was. Total number of suspects, 4 cases with filed with Escos County Attorney, 1 with the Floresville DA's office. One suspect with 2 charges with the Medina County Criminal District Attorney's office. Oh, what's the latest there? 421 to 518, so this is kind of an old one. 125 vacation hours, 39 sick hours, 72 hours, I took 6 hours leave, 31 hours overtime. No, I'm sorry, wrong one. Let me go 519, 615. 111 hours overtime, 4 hours sick time, 20 hours holiday, 7 hours of COVID leave. Unpaid, which we're not doing anything right there. That's at the end of the line. Biggest thing we got going right now, of course, we had that deal. Guy presents these people, 5 kids, break in a car in San Antonio. They get it's an off-duty policeman. They get a bunch of his stuff. They go on a little crime spree. They end up stopping a person over here, bring them out of the car at gunpoint, zip time, 12:14 after midnight, Ball Road in Bear County. Gordon Hanson, our sergeant on patrol, has to turn where he sees it, interrupts him in the middle of this robbery. They flee and crash out. They run on foot. It's in Bear County. We get the Texas Rangers to help us, and we have been basically, I've had David Lopez basically working every day for the last week, and then some with the Rangers on. They search warrants in Alamo Heights. He may have to go to Kergo tomorrow to take phones we got search warrants on phones. We got a lot of stuff going on. Very time consuming, but we've got most of the people identified. We may have a couple of warrants already. The Ranger was going to maybe get some warrants. He's going to the DA's office in Bear County today. So, it's a lot of work. We got probably 100 pieces of evidence. I can't explain to you how much work that is just in processing and categorizing and storing. Anyway, a lot going on, but other than that, that's about the load there. Same old stuff. Question. I mean, there's a lot. I mean, I could sit here for 3 hours and tell you what we've been doing, and I enjoy it, but you wouldn't.
Richard, thanks for all that.
Bill hours, but nobody.
Appreciate it with
Yes, sir.
working with the news also. You highlighted Lido a few times, so we
Oh,
appreciate
yeah,
all
yeah,
the different
yeah.
stories and everything.
The key is if the news people will call you, because they want somebody that will tell them the truth, and so many places, when the news calls you and you don't ever answer them, then they think you got something hiding. It's better like what you do, get out there if they want to talk to you, head talk. We want to try to keep, we want to be proactive, want people to know that we're out there, and that's kind of.
And thanks for all your help too with the sirens.
Oh, I
Council,
really don't.
Matt, this month, the 3rd July was the 3rd month that we had all of them. Yes, we've had 3 months in a row, all of our sirens working.
So that's kind of neat. That's good.
Appreciate the help.
We're happy with that.
That was good. All right. Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Luke. Appreciate you prepping your dad for that.
We'll cover Lynette's report for her, so we'll go over this. That's for the year so far, I believe. Trying to review. Oh yes, ad valorem, we budgeted 767, we brought in 729, so it's about $37,000 deficit. In the hot tax, we brought in more than we anticipated, so we got a little surplus there. Franchise tax is a little low for the year, as well as the city sales tax. I think we'll be okay though. Hopefully the sales tax will start coming in a little better. There's your breakdowns of all your funds. She did note there, even though we show a deficit of $23,549, we're due the second half of that ARP funding of $379 in August. We spent a lot of this general fund money on the well, and that's $379 was budgeted for that. So she's got cool charts there. If you want everything going up, which is what we're looking at, we do have some the deficits we just talked about there. Upcoming, she's got the internal audit of all the general accounts and bank accounts for the end of the year. financial paperwork and financials for the 8.5 million bonds are needed. Make needed reclassifications and errors fixed for the end of year. Internal audit, modify all needed bank transfers such as court security, water, sewer, impact fees, etc. Prepare to consolidate the non-dedicated fund accounts for the end of the year. Finalize the 22-23 budget. I'll cover that in mind. Reconciliation of the variances for the abnormal taxes in preparation for the transition to the county in 2023. Paul is working on that. We've made just today alone a lot of strides in that category. Paul will work hard on that. So ongoing internal missions is the document to review, destroy of long-term file per GAAP and GASP standards. So long-term project Goose, due to the state of the office and package documentation about it. Fiscal audit is scheduled for December 12th through the 16th.
That is awesome.
Yes.
We haven't been able to do that in how many years?
I mean,
Let's see, 17.
no longer than that.
Oh, yeah. So it's been at least 8 or 9 years. We're literally gonna do our audit on the same year, right after we get done. That is a huge accomplishment. That's awesome. All right.
Hello. This will be my first monthly report, very short, so it's gonna go very quick. We had a total of 8 permits done for the month of June. New construction was 1, additions were 3, storage sheds were 2, and 1 slab and 1 new sign, which was the AT&T sign. Inspections for June were 59, our plans review were 10. Frame and electrical and AC work mainly all in Saddle Ridge, 23. The drive and the walk 11. Go for the 7 inspections, not final for 8. Taxes for June, I'm just entering all the taxes in the system that I need to enter for the end of June and July. We updated our system, we need to update our system once I'm done with that, and we're gonna get ready to the 2022 taxes. Tax and building permits, I'm trying to receive 19 applications for that position. I schedule interviews for Thursday and Friday, and which is going to be the next council meeting.
Awesome.
That's it. Short and sweet.
Yep.
Just started, so. don't
Too
have a lot of-
short, too short.
Thanks for all your help on that. Appreciate
And
it.
if all goes well with everything that we passed tonight, we won't have to wait till the next council meeting. If we find the right hire, we'll even hire that person if you don't start. That way we don't have to prolong it. All right, here we go. Open pipe reviews. So we have the Live Oak Street, LD Cromer, Lytle Farms. Live Oak Street, I believe I just got that one back today. It's good to go, so that's gonna be an approval. RFPs and RFQs, the Lakeshore Estates Drainage Master Plan and the Stormwater Utility. I've drafted both of those, so they're in their final review. It's my first time ever drafting those. So I'm trying to make sure that we have a format for us to use in the future, and we follow that same format. So I'm making them match, kind of reading through them to make sure I didn't mess anything up. Never done one, so we're working on it. City taxes, pass that over to Paula. She's working on that, so everything in the future will come from her. The budget, there's the preliminary values again. I got a lot of that in today. So here we go. Addison County certified values, 166,437,168. We have 5.9 million under protest. They anticipate about a 10% loss of that. So when we adopt our budget, we're going to go off that top value you see there. The Bear County, we've got 902,990 certified. They've got 871,000 under protest. Medina County was 59,718,736 with 1.6 million under protest. So we're working with Lynette, and I'll be very busy the next few, probably a couple of weeks. Wednesday, she's going to work on stuff. I'll be out at a funeral Wednesday. But Thursday, we'll probably get busy. We got to gather some information that we can send to the appraisal district so they can start to work on that calculation worksheet. That way we'll know. And we'll use those top numbers, the 166, 902, and 59 as what we build our tax rate on. And then once those other ones kick in, as we import those, once they're done through the appraisal protest system and it's certified, those then come into our system. We adopt those through Paula's process, and then their bills go out. So whatever we budget on, we'll get a little extra on later on once they figure out those certified values. Couple updates there for you. So Saddle Ridge we'll talk about, their phase 6, they're anticipating 10 to 12 homes per month starting in July with an estimated completion date by September 2023. Phase 2 and 5, current assumptions for them are to begin construction around May 2023 or when phase 6 inventory runs out. Going down to Rosewood, their phase 1, if they get everything done that they're anticipating 14 to 16 homes per month starting in April of 23 with completions of September 2023. So we have 2 of them, 2 phases completing around the same time. Paula's section of the office is going to get extremely busy with permits. Talking with her today, we're going to hire the new girl or new person, and she's just going to train them in permits. No need to train them in any taxes. Paula's got that, let her handle it. Permits, that's where the work's going to be going. Then a lot of farms are still under review, so we're waiting for them to finish up on that. I need to still speak on the Saddle Ridge drainage project. I'm still waiting to hear back from our engineer. He had something from Pate Dawson on what they wanted to do on that easement. But we've been paying. Phone tag has been really busy, and we just haven't gotten in on that yet. I have not seen anything back from them yet. Just miscellaneous. We attended the Essex County Mayor's hosted here in Lytle. It was a huge success. Had a lot of mayors here, and they loved it. A lot of those people have probably never been to Lytle before, so it was a good time to showcase it. Department head meeting, TxDOT TIA for Lytle Farms and Rosewood. Both of those have to do improvements on TxDOT roadways, but instead of each one doing their own thing whenever they decided they wanted to do it, for us and our residents, it was better if we got them all completed at one time. So we brought all the players to the table at one time, figured out what needed to be done, and all those improvements will be done at the same exact time. That way it's a 1 in, 1 out. Civic Plus, we've met with them. I've got an actual demo on our permits. So I would like to take that if we can fix it into our budget. Currently, all of our permits are handwritten. Everything Paula does is a handwritten everything. There's nothing digital about it. I've had several calls to me that says, hey, did my inspection pass? I don't know. There's nothing out here at the job site. I've been calling the office. They're busy, and my goal is to make it digital. Our inspectors will use devices. This passed, that passed. You as the permit puller will be able to log into a portal and boom, I passed. I'm ready to go today. That'll stop a lot of the internal calls that we're getting. Saddle Ridge, all these developers calling, I need to schedule inspections. They'll log in their portal and they'll schedule their inspections when they're ready. And it's gonna pop up on our end, our permits, whoever, inspectors, you got these permits, they're on your device, come get it. It's gonna speed everything up for us.
Has there been any discussions about additional inspectors as we ramp up?
Yes. So I've talked to Mr. Martin already, and told him they need to let us know when we get to that point of you need help getting inspections done. There's just more inspections needed than you can physically do. So he's gonna let me know, but yeah, we've had that conversation already. TxDOT project, we get those monthly. Alderman Eber and I attended a county SWAT meeting. That was kind of it. I didn't really know what it was, but I was very intrigued when we got over there when we saw some of the results on a survey that went out. And when I think Atascosa County, we typically don't think Lytle. You always think Pleasanton, Jordan. And they sent out a survey, and 47% of the respondents identified from the Lytle area. So that was huge. And then the stuff we did, we talked about, was not just, typically Lytle was always forgotten about, right? It's kind of the stepchild sits up there. There was a lot of stuff brought to the table. Alderman Emery and I make sure we spoke up for Lytle and development coming over here. And even one of the gentlemen putting this on said, when we develop this plan, it should be county. We shouldn't identify an entity or municipality in there. And then as we kept going, he said, with the exception of Lytle. There's a lot of growth going on over there. We need to do a couple things, specific talks about that. Alderman Emery actually came up with a lot of what's in the mission statement for this plan that's coming out. So it was good. And the people know over there that where Lytle is on the map now. I promise you that. We attended the CPS Energy meeting on the new gas system contract. We got a lot of work to do there, and we got to keep an open mind on what we're working with there. Met with JCB for display the new public works machine that we're looking at. They actually brought it down here, Public Works. It got a little too hot for me. I ain't gonna lie, been on the street in a while, so I said I'm out. But James, you actually got to use the machine, dig with it a little bit. It worked out. You like it? Gonna be a great machine that we can turn 2 machines into 1 and last us for years to come. And then Adams County went to a presidential for a budget meeting with the mayor. Last thing I'll update on, street paving. Talked to the contractor today. If all goes well, they plan to be in town later this week for some kind of prep work. And then if the paving plant does what they're supposed to and is all aligned, they'll be out the week after the paving gets done all that week. So I'll draft a letter this week, Skip, and I'll get with you and probably pull Wayne from Parks to get y'all out on the streets, kind of like we did for the other one.
And then get me the info so I can push it out.
Yes, we'll push it out.
So you're talking about they're gonna be, you're starting the first to the 5th?
Yeah, he said if all goes well, they'll be out towards the end of this week to get some prep work done and be out the following week to start paving.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, because we got school the following week on the 11th, they get started.
Yeah.
So that'd be perfect.
Yeah.
We can get
So
that
hopefully
done.
we can get it all done.
Be good. They're gonna take care of the edging, right?
Yes, sir. They said they will feather it for us.
Awesome. Any questions, anything on that? Oh, and Matt, just want to say thanks to you and the staff in City Hall. You guys been hitting all strides and just taking care of a lot of special requirements. And not only the facility, but also just taking care of the programs within itself. I literally walk around this building and it looks better and it feels better. So appreciate all the hard work on that.
We've got a lot of work to do still, but it is a team effort. I promise you that.
So kudos all the way around. Just pass it on to the whole staff. And, take care of all that. Along with the court too. Getting all that stuff lined up.
Oh, and we updated the phone system here, so when you call in and listen to the options, we kind of changed a couple things around where people. So if you were used to hitting extension 4 for that person, just listen to the recording the first time to make sure they're still 4.
We tried to record Richie, it just didn't work out.
It was too long-winded. He kept hitting, he said, stop recording.
I have a terrible time doing that. Finally, the guy over at the office, Paula was there. The guy says, let me just do it.
No, I'm telling you, you gotta have fun. All right, anything with the department reports? Any last minute? Anything else? All right, let's go ahead and close it out. Item number 10, informational items. Anybody want to share anything? I've got some stuff. Some of it already got covered.
Mayor, I want to remind the council, each alderman is gonna elect or appoint a council or committee member for the Citizens Award Committee. Do we have a due date there? When do we turn that into?
Give it to them to follow. So we need to have that. Did we already have a list? I thought we had a working list. Didn't we have a working list already?
Of some nominees?
Yeah.
Well, their appointees, each
Or
district
appointees, yeah.
alderman is gonna have their appointee, and then the mayor's gonna get that committee.
If everybody will submit them again to Paula, then we'll get them on the next agenda and get that official committee appointed.
Okay.
And that way we can start moving ahead, so we don't get behind the ball.
Right.
It's hard. I'll be honest with you, at times we forget, to us, it sounds like a simpler task for us. We just forget those smaller things. So do not hesitate to say, hey, don't forget this.
Yeah, there's certain things we're gonna need to start by September, then October, certain dates.
Perfect time.
We can go ahead and do that. So thank you. Anything else, Michael?
No.
Awesome. Anything? All right, update on the well, where we're at right now. We've been working on well number 4 out of well number 4, and James has been able to sleep. He still wakes up and goes and checks it, but he doesn't need to. The system is doing what it's supposed to be doing. We haven't had that for how many years, James?
Goes way back.
Ever. So it's great just knowing that the tanks are talking to the well and say, turn on, refill, turn off. So it's been doing. They're giving the thumbs up. We should have the contractor coming in and working on well number 2. Taking that down, doing some maintenance on it. And then once we bring that up, then we'll work on the telemetry. There's still a lot of work to be done. There's items that our inspector Reese has identified that we still need to go ahead and take care of the cosmetic stuff along with some concrete and a few other things that we need to do, but we're getting there. But just knowing that the system is working the way it's working is great for us. And we're getting good water. James is very happy, so he's gonna be even happier once we get done completely with that. TxDOT, Matt had put it up there about the frontage roads, so just a reminder, the area where, was it Trophy Bucks or Bucks
Trophy
Trophy and the Tex trailers on that side of the frontage road, that south end, they're gonna go ahead and do some construction, so they're gonna have flagged people out there, where it'll be one way. That's gonna start in August. Our main frontage roads between 3175 and 2790, for right now, there's not gonna be any change what they're doing. There might be something on the Bill Miller side, but right now they're still saying that it's gonna stay the same for August. Probably in September is when they start bringing it down to one lane, but they said that they would keep us updated. So, just so you kind of have an idea of projects. We still have some other things that are going on around town that they're looking at, in our area right in front of here. They're still forecasting fall and, start doing a few things, but it won't be until the beginning of next year before they do. So a lot of work on there. We had a great meeting with TxDOT. I think it was really good, and hopefully we take care of some of those things that go along with that. Lynette and Matt working real hard on our infrastructure projects. We're following the calendars. Be prepared. It'll start getting busier for us here in the next couple of months of things to take into consideration and sending off. You probably noticed them in the paper, where we put them out there to go ahead and do our normal thing to let people know what we're actually doing with the certificates of obligation. So we're moving very well with that, so we can go ahead and take care of it. And we're looking at options, the best way for us to be able to take care of the funding. Folks are working really good to take care of all of our taxes and our rates, utility rates. Please start talking to folks, start explaining people. We don't have a magical number, but just like we said today, we already know that we're operating way below where we're supposed to be. And we can't operate that way. We will be coming back to the council in the future, not only with the water, but some other things where we're taking a hit, pretty drastic hit ourselves. And we need to be able to, we don't need to make a profit, but we need to cover our expenses. And that's not what we've been doing for the last few years. So we need to change that direction. We need to kind of help ourselves along with it. And it'll make it better where we can do other things for our city. Please keep checking on elderly during these hot months. Reminder that United Methodist Church, the Vitals Methodist Church is actually volunteered, and they're standing by if anybody needs a cool down facility. They're available to be able to help out with that. But please check on the elderly, anybody who needs. It doesn't seem like we're going to get anything less than 100 for the next week, and we're still going into the hotter months. So please keep an eye out on that, and if anybody needs any help, let us know. So, any last minute things?
I started working on the lights for the park. I talked to Musco Lighting, I met with one electrician 2 weeks ago, and a couple of days ago, another one saw me visit the park and see where they can put poles where it won't cost them, save so much money if we do decide to do it.
Roger that. Yep. Moving out little by little. We want to get the numbers and the figures so we can have them up there and get something updated. And we're probably going to have a few other areas too. Let's put them on the list and let's track them. That's basically
And what was it for?
lighting.
For the park, Tisdale Park. The two, and what's the schedule for a new sign?
So for our new sign up front,
Let me look at the dates again, but the gentleman came out, we looked at some stuff, Public Works is gonna have to do some demo. I'm gonna need them to kind of bore where the gravel sits to where the sign sits, a new pole there so we can pull some electrical. Ronnie's gotta get us a quote, we gotta upgrade some electrical out there for it, because we don't have all the needed infrastructure. But I'm hoping 8 weeks. Well, the sign's being built still.
Do you remember how tall our sign's gonna be?
I'll get you the specs again, but it does go up it goes up on a pole, so it's up in the air.
Yeah, I just wonder because, you know, the Methodist Church put a new sign out in front of the church there. And it's almost on the ground and it's great, you can see it. And I was just doing a little test driving by, coming up this way to turn down toward HEB. And from the driver's seat, it's hard to look up if our sign is very high. Coming from HEB and down 132, the driver can look and see all the way up to the sky. So I didn't remember how high we were planning to make this.
I'll look at it again and see. I know we wanted to get it up in the air so that when cars are parked there, we're not blocking it, but I'll look at the exact specs again.
You know, if it's too high, people coming 132 up toward here, may not be able to see it very well. So maybe too late to do anything about it, but
It's just the metal
when I
pole.
saw
They'll
their
make-
sign, it was like,
Yeah, they'll
wow.
put it as high as we want it or as low as we want it.
Take a look at it. Good fun. Any last minute things? Okay, it's 10:04. Do I have a motion for us to go ahead and adjourn the meeting? A motion, got a second? Okay. All those in favor? Any opposed? All right. Thank you so much.
I
got sent.
I'll
send you a sample of that
Thank you so
letter.
much.
And so if you just want to fill them out, send it to